A sack of potatoes, 1 bag of potatoes. A sack of potatoes, 1 bag of potatoes. A sack of potatoes, 1 bag of potatoes. A sack of potatoes, 1 bag of potatoes.
It's not a proper stream where we talk about politics if we don't see that clip. Welcome to this new show, sorry about that. Freedom of speech in Canada is in danger. And we will cover Bill C8 and C9. How are you, Dragon?
I'm good. Just been doing
Amazing.
daily streams, trying to restore my algorithm, but it's going swimmingly. I think, like everyone, I got clickbaited into talking about. So, since we have the world's shittiest timing on the government shutdown, you have your squabbles up there, we have ours. We got deprived the congressional hearing of, I would say, the decade. But Dan Clancy, the head of Reddit, the head of Discord, and Gabe Newell was supposed to appear before Congress, but due to the government shutdown and 5 other committees going off at once, they rescheduled it, or are in the process of rescheduling it. So, as much
That's sad.
No. But that's something we've been waiting on for a while. But I'll say this, it would have been funny to have Dan Clancy talk to Congress the day of that Hassan did the raid act in shocking his dog, which, as well as the birthing meta of Twitch that he was watching. But hey, that will come up later on. But God bless the government shutdown.
So before we really dive deep into C8 and C9, I will speak about freedom of speech in Canada, or I should say freedom of expression, because our freedom of expression is not the exact same as freedom of speech. You guys in the USA are far more protected than us here in Canada. This is... yes, it's not. I think it's. I know for fact, guys are far more protected than us. Us, it's a mess. It's really easy. Our freedom of expression can be taken away really, really easily. So our freedom of expression lets us talk about the government, about, like, for example, I call someone stupid. I can call him stupid, and that's not really breaking that freedom of expression. However, what breaks it is when I incite to violence directly, like I speak about...
We have there's the more draconian one, where, the one that's getting more of the government's in danger. So 1984 had the idea of what you call newspeak. Newspeak is they changed the language kind of and then said other words were bad or you can't be spoken. The problem is there's a difference. UK has been doing the whole thing of, and it's largely a process dealing with the collapsing of generations, or it's a cause and effect, because it's funny when you listen to usually what we say liberal politicians, I use them now because they're the ones in power. They go, we have, like, I had to go over a hearing. One person, like Amy Klobuchar, is like, she's describing all of this online hate groups rising, etc., etc. But she forgets to mention that they're partly responsible. Let's say, like in the US, liberals were largely foreclosing the asylums and changing psychological care, which led to softening treatment of autism in people with severe mental illness. That was a cause of something they started. They go, we need to solve a problem. So we go back and fix it.
And to piggyback on that, here in Canada, the problem apparently is our freedom of expression. Uh, it doesn't protect the government. Therefore, the government want to make amendments like C9, and they want to empower themselves into shutting off any dissent, any message that doesn't align with what they believe in with C8.
Well,
So
technically, the world's largest open air prison is either Australia or the UK. Take your pick. But
we are next if we
actually, the
stay
joke.
silent.
So the actual joke, I wouldn't say you're as bad as the UK or
If the
Australia.
bill we will talk about tonight passes,
Okay.
we will be UK bad.
Here's the problem with Australia. Australia has been described as it's an open air prison where everyone wants to be the warden and the guards. By that, you know what I mean by that, Multi?
No.
Everyone just becomes the new wardens or the guards, meaning that whoever they put in charge is basically either similar or just reinforces the regime or the belief system. It's a self-repeating prison style thinking, because all their politicians that get in wind up duplicating. In the UK, you're trying to see a newer, stricter UK order because hypothetically, you don't want to be called a racist. You can't use any racist terms. You can't be ableist. There's people in the UK because people make mean Facebook posts that seem ableist.
They
So
arrest in the UK. They arrest 30 person per day for tweets.
Or, I mean, that's like a ministry of truth. But then again, you have cases in Canada where they were trying to, and I've seen this case, and it's more than one. It was you can find this case. I'm surprised you didn't know about it. The father, so, yes, you can join. No one stops you. The idea is of the daughter got told she was a boy, or she told them they were a boy, and she wasn't sure, so the school transitioned her. Or social transition, the father found out, refused to go by the pronouns, and your government tried to strip him of his parental rights.
Yeah.
Now, that was a very testy case that he wound up losing. In the US, we're not there yet. But up there, they can strip the rights because they try to throw the guy in prison for misgendering his daughter. It's like, that's my daughter, not my son. And she wasn't even sure about her gender because it's kids. She was like a 12 or 13-year-old. Seriously.
Perfect.
Did you not know about that story?
I did hear about it.
That's an old story. Very old story.
We also had a nurse recently. She got fired and then she got hired back. But she got fired because people complained of what she was saying on the internet. And that wasn't even like in person, but people were like, "Oh, you're doing bad stuff on the internet, so therefore we must remove you." And then she got her job back.
Well, most jobs, by the way, Multi, do have a job clause where, let's assume you work for a company. You say something demeaning on social media, you can be fired. If you talk bad about let's say you're working for Bob's Packing Company. Dave is doing this, or bad boss, and you're complaining. They can probably fire you. Even in the US, they can fire you for that. Well, they check your social media when they hire you.
Well, what she says, like she was a nurse for years, and on the internet she was like anti-trans, and apparently one of the trans person didn't like it, and They reported her and she got fired, but then she got reinstated because there was a lot of backlash being like, that's disgusting, that's bad, we are losing freedom of expression. And
I mean, there's
she got reinstated, like she got her job back, but like for quite some time she was fired.
I mean,
It's
I'll be
ridiculous.
very honest. A lot of the LGBT, the problem is not with the LGBT people. The issue is with the QIA plus people. Those are where everything is going to hell in a handbasket for them. Conservatives warned them years ago, and most normal people. There used to be a thing called the bi umbrella. The bi umbrella is what you call the bisexual umbrella. Everything, whether you like anything, was under that. They shattered that. That's how you wound up with the QIA plus, or whatever.
Yeah. So before we really dive deep,
You're talking about, but this is the whole thing.
Yeah.
You guys have that where people feel that if you misgender, you bully.
Yeah.
And your idea, that's where you get the ableism in. The ableism goes along with the racism.
Yeah.
If you
so before we really dive deep into it, so we have freedom of expression, but we also have like the Eightful Act, or I don't remember the exact name, but what it says is if you say that person should die, you can be sent to jail. And there's always that attorney general. So basically, the attorney general get to pick and choose all of the cases that will go further in the court. Like if someone is like, oh, I'm victim of a hate crime, then he has that hearing with the attorney general, and he analyzed the case, and if he realized maybe some harmful thing were done, then it will go to the court. And depending on the argument, the people, the witness, the testimony, and whether you're guilty or not, well, there's a case. And
there's no difference in the U.S. It's like the Q Club shooting in, I think, Florida years ago, where the Muslim man blew up the gay people in the nightclub. He openly did that out of a hate crime.
Yeah.
Now, just because a person takes out, like, there's been cases like before this year with a bunch of the trans shooters.
But to get back to what I was saying, so as of right now, the people are protected by the safeguard called the attorney general, and sometimes there are some really ridiculous case, and if someone feel like they are
a clause,
shut up, D-Lord, okay, just let me finish. So the idea is, if it's deemed to be ridiculous, if it's deemed to not be hateful, then it doesn't go any further, and the safeguard is really the attorney general. And again, what's really harmful is if you incite to say that group of people should all die, or these people, they don't deserve to live, or I will do this to that group of people, then this open threats. So there are already laws that are in place to convict someone from threatening and inciting to violence, and that's part of our freedom of expression.
Yeah.
And it's already in place, but again, there's that attorney general that will make sure we don't persecute every single person saying something mean. Like if I call someone stupid and that person is offended, then they go at the attorney general and they say, but he only called you stupid, and the case will be dismissed.
That's ableism.
And if the case is dismissed, then it's great. It's a case solved. But again, if you really incite to violence, this is when things are falling off. So,
but traditionally, let me say this: traditionally in the U.S., when you have hate crime legislation applied or intent to purpose, you can commit an act, a violent act, and this happens, you see, in mass shooters. They go, oh, what's the intent? If your intent was not a race crime, we apply that to a stipulation, and that allows the federal government or other powers to get involved. It's also used an accelerated punishment. So if you say a white person shoots up a black club and kills black people in the club, and you say you did it because they were black, they're going to accelerate it, etc. Right? But you have to prove the intent in the U.S. that you intended out of an act of malice and racism or
Yeah.
prejudice to do it.
And we
That's hard
must
for one
also
to
follow up that here in Canada, and we have the Attorney General that really do the case and
The
that
problem is
builds
you
the
guys need to
case.
avoid thought crime. Just because someone online uses gamer words in Call of Duty doesn't mean if you say, "Oh, I'm going to kill you" in a video game, doesn't mean they're going to kill you IRL.
Yeah,
Now,
that's
if you
true.
carry that out,
That's wrong. Don't do that.
yes. So,
But yeah, so that's the law. We already have law in place. So any addition is just abuse of power. Anyhow, what we are doing today, we have a special show that will start very soon, even if we are 16 minutes in. So the idea of the show tonight, we will be covering 5 videos, and many of the videos will cover C8, but we will focus a lot more on C9, and we will
well,
also
C9's an
select,
amendment.
yeah,
C8's a total bill. So,
yeah, and we will also cover the amendment and the bill itself, parts that I consider important to these two things, because that's a lot of word and a lot of sentence, and it's quite big. So I decided to just use important parts of C8 and C9. So let's get into the first clip of tonight.
If Parliament passes bills C2, C8, and C9 in their current form. C2 is the Strong Borders Act. It should be called the Strong Surveillance Act. It empowers Canada Post to open letter mail without a warrant. It criminalizes the use of cash in amounts greater than 10,000. And it empowers a vast army of government officials, not just police, to conduct warrantless searches of the computers and cell phones of Canadians. It is a massive invasion of privacy. It's extremely dangerous. We then have Bill C9, which is the Combating Hate Act. And this legislation is going to result in many more Canadians getting prosecuted, not over something that they've done, but on the basis of something that they have said or written. Bill C9, the Combating Hate Act, gets rid of an existing requirement that hate speech prosecutions need to be reviewed by the Attorney General. And it also gives judges authority to impose much longer sentences, jail sentences on people if the judge feels that hate was part of the motivation in the commission of the crime.
So I will just pause here because I will address one of the elephant in the room. As of right now, with our current charter, if you are deemed to have hateful speech, if you deem to break our freedom of expression, you can do a few months in jail, up to, I believe it's like 5 to 10 years, but like it's some of the extreme case where you call on for genocide or something really, really bad. Like you won't take 10 years if you just threaten someone, but if you threaten a big group and it's really bad, then it can be like 5 to 10 years. But again, that's some of the worst cases, because you can just spend a few months in some of the case we have right now when you break freedom of expression. So that's why I mentioned that here, because he speaks about changing what we could spend time for saying bad things. The amendment could increase the amount of years in jail for something that's deemed like breaking freedom of expression, and that's really bad. But let's just play the rest. I'm very curious for you to see the entire thing if you have not seen prior, but for the viewer, it's worrying. So let's read more. Let's hear more, I should say.
Bill C9 still does a terrible job of defining the emotion of hate. And so there's lots of discretion left in subjective feelings of police officers, crown prosecutors, and judges. So that's a serious problem. There have been warnings that the Online Harms Act, which prior to the last election was known as Bill C-63, might be reintroduced. If the Online Harms Act is brought back and passed into law, you're going to see the Canadian Human Rights Commission with massive new powers to prosecute Canadians over offensive non-criminal speech with penalties up to $50,000. You're going to see a Digital Safety Commission with a vast army of bureaucrats to enforce federal regulations that are passed in respect of the internet and internet contents. And you're going to see Canadians punished preemptively because their neighbor fears that they might commit a hate speech crime in future. The Online Harms Act would authorize judges to place Canadians under house arrest and wear an ankle bracelet in respect to curfew, etc. People who have not been charged with any offense or convicted of any offense. So preemptive punishment is actually part of the Online Harms Act. Now, last but not least, currently before the House of Commons, we have Bill.
Preemptively, I don't know if you realize it. I think you do, but like for the viewer that don't realize it, that means my neighbor, if he doesn't like what I say or what I post on the internet, it could be like, commission, my neighbor is dangerous, my neighbor is alt-right, my neighbor is far-right, it could be dangerous, boom. You're already considered a criminal without doing anything wrong. It's just someone is scared of you. It's ridiculous.
They call that you call that snitching with a thought crime. In Banana Republic, in Soviet-style Russia,
they do the same.
You did not fear. It was more or less, party of people who wanted to toe the party line would basically snitch on their neighbor. Now, in a lot of it, it sounds weird in Banana Republics because that's loyalty to the party at hand. So when you talk about that they don't need a secret police, because yes, they had secret police in Soviet Russia and other places. But largely, if you get a state or a society that would, where, the neighbor tells on each other out of fear, then it solves the issue. But that's like the weirdest extreme conditioning where a general ideology controls or has sway.
And we had something very similar during COVID, but it wasn't like prison time or jail. It was more like fines, and I think that's as far as
wasn't it your buddy Trudeau during lockdowns having tea and other shit when it was COVID?
Yeah, like
I remember the party.
He was saying, everyone, look, you need to stay home, and then he would go to his
he would go to parties somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
They happened in the U.S. too, by the way. Just amongst the rich.
I'm sure that was a Democrat. F them. Let's do this.
C8, the Cybersecurity Act. This gives federal cabinet ministers the power to kick individual Canadians off the internet. The Cybersecurity Act also allows the government to acquire subscriber information and to designate any company as a designated operator, impose all kinds of rules on that company. It gives the cabinet ministers powers to demand information, which must be turned over, and provides for, expressly says there's no compensation to any Canadian individual or company.
And I will say this. There are already things in place where if you get a warrant, you can access that as the government or the CRP, which is our FBI, like the Monties, I can't remember the exact
Probably
word,
the
but
Mounties.
yeah, yeah. So we already have that, but the big difference is you need a warrant. You need to go before a judge. You need to bring proof, burden of proof that there's something sketchy, and then with that, the judge will sign a warrant, and with that warrant, you can access the intel you want. And again, that warrant is essential because if it goes to court, they will use that warrant to prosecute to go after you, basically.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Well, it's always going to be the first stage. You got to prove that
there's something wrong going on.
Because here's the thing, like as I was telling you before, in the U.S. we have stuff called FISA warrants. So, like when you think back when they wanted to prosecute Trump as an enemy of the state, they needed all of these documents to prove, and they go, "Okay, we're going to go to a FISA court. We're going to say, okay,
We have something similar. Yeah,
we need to say Donald Trump is basically, we believe, they took like the FBI and everything, and we're like, this was like, oh, we're going to have you be like this enemy of, like, they go, oh, we believe such and such is acting terrible. All right. But here, in only the worst case, you need that FISA warrant. So
it's the same here. And again, C8 they want to give that power to government without a warrant. So that means there's no way you can defend yourself against that. If it goes to court, you cannot prove someone did something malicious because there's no proof, there's no warrant, there's no paper trail. The warrant is also a paper trail. If you got a good lawyer, they can flip that warrant against the state and like give you a lighter sentence or something like that. So again, the warrant is so essential to protect the citizen from abuse of power, and CA does want, or it does try to take away the need of any warrant. Which
I mean, we had the
disgusting.
only time in the U.S. we've ever had anything similar. The problem is to get a FISA warrant, like everyone talks badly about the Patriot Act post 9/11 with the NSA. Yeah, they could technically tap into anything, but if they ever needed to make a case and it came up that they were using improper evidence, those people got cooked, because you can't prove that Muhammad was actually planning to build a car bomb, turn a car into a bomb, and blow up a place in the middle of downtown Manhattan if it came out that the information came from a wiretap that was illegal. So it's like, ooh. It becomes really weird when you do cases like such. Now, the problem itself is if a nation reaches thought crime level, or you need to in the worst case scenario, that's where your problem lies. Where if the state can degenerate into enough, let's look at like modern Russia. Russia, basically, Putin has it where he doesn't have to do shit. Yes, he has secret police who can come sweep you up and occasionally knock people who knock him out on boats and they have boating accidents. But there's more or less your neighbors tell on you because it's loyalty to the state. Or you're speaking out against the regime. You see that in banana republics, like in Latin America. Now, worst case scenario, you get that up in Canada. But you need a populace that is that far gone.
Yeah.
And the question is, are you there?
That suffers losses because of a minister's order under this Cybersecurity Act. administrative penalties for not complying with the minister's order, up to $50,000 per day for individual Canadians, and up to 15 million for Canadian companies not complying with a minister's order. Now, theoretically, a Canadian who is kicked off the internet can go to court, but for that you need $100,000 in a bank account to be used for litigation that's going to drag on for years. So practically speaking, there's not a real remedy available if under Bill C-8, if a federal cabinet minister kicks a Canadian off the internet. Politicians never take away our rights and freedoms without offering a nice sounding pretext. And so we've got the federal government saying that we need Bill C-8, Cybersecurity Act, to protect us from hackers, ransomware fraudsters, malicious cyber actors, and hostile state actors. Now, and of course, the sacrosanct national security and public safety, which of course every Canadian supports. The fact is that hacking into someone else's computer system, causing damage, are already criminal offenses. The powers are there already for the government simply to enforce the criminal code. Giving the federal government, giving federal cabinet ministers power to kick Canadians off the internet is not necessary for protecting public safety or defending our national security.
And I'll add more to this. Imagine you are in the middle of your campaign and you want to keep your power on. And you know, as of today, 2025, people rely so much on the internet. People rely so much on having access to a cell phone. It's part of a lot of people campaign. It's part of our livelihood. And what do? You are in power. You have political opponents. You have the opposition, and you don't want them to get involved. You shut them off from the internet. And because of that C-8, you have the power to do so. It's dystopian, but it's coming if it passes through.
It's
scary.
It's potential, because let's take the case recently. Let's say recent times, but it's pretty close. You have two examples of very similar stuff happening in governments. Under Putin's first run as president, when he first ran, he did not run as he was. He had a running mate. Now, everyone knows later on Putin was at KGB and wanted power and solidify what his dreams were. His vice president tried to run against him. So he changed not only the speech laws a little bit, he changed the election laws. So he eventually had measures to keep the man off the ballot after his vice president wanted to run against him. The other case, let's say very similar, was when Trump was running for the first time. Around September or October of that year, about 2 months before the election, I remember this report. Obama's State Department wanted to do a Russian probe into candidates and into stuff. This was after Obama had been... He thought the Cold War was over and Russians started meddling with us on a very big scale. And he thought Trump was an enemy of the state. So he had a memo drafted to go before the FISA court and everything else to try to get Trump stained or convicted where he couldn't be elected. Now, ultimately, his opponent was Hillary Clinton, but by far she had 150 FBI agents up her ass investigating the Clinton Foundation. But you have these examples of where you try to use an apparatus, but it's very hard to use with the FISA court in the U.S. to get people deemed that way. Worst come to worst, that can happen in Canada if you want to retain power. So it sounds weird, but a lot of those FISA warrants turned out to be false. But I mean, people said, well, it was just going off leads. But in a modern, unless you have legislation that you can prove someone's bad, but then again, your court did uphold Trudeau's use of the Emergency Act. And as I said during the trucker thing, that was your last gasp of freedom up there.
That's true.
Because after that, we all said if the government upholds the Emergency Act, it's going to open the door. So,
our freedoms are fragile. It's imperative that every Canadian contact their member of parliament, whether your MP is Liberal, Conservative, NDP, Bloc, or Green, does not matter. Contact your member of parliament and tell him or her to vote against bills C2, C8, C9, and tell them to not bring back the Online Harms Act. I'm John Carpe. Thanks for listening.
So that's the end of the first one. I will let you search for the one I told you about with the black chick about C9 and C8 with the other lawyer with gray hairs. So now this is the next segment where we dive deep into C8 and C9. Well, dive deep. We most likely cover the very important part. I think is very, very worrying. Let me take a look.
That's the one I said before.
And my honorable colleagues,
yeah, so that will be the one of the next ones we will be covering. So yeah, let's read out the first reading. So basically, what's going on in Parliament, how it works. In Canada, we have Parliament, and how it goes is the party in power, which is as of right now the Liberals, because they only carry that name, they don't act like such. The Liberals, they are in power, but they are a minority government. And that means they don't have enough seat to pass anything they want, so they need to work with the opposition. And the idea is when they want to push through a law, it goes to first reading. And first reading is basically, here's what we suggest as a law. And now the opposition gets to read that law and pick it apart and tear it apart to say, here are the dangerous things, here are the things we suggest, here are the things we should remove, here are the things to improve your law if it really passes. And a lot of times after the first reading, after a lot of weeks of debate on the matter, sometimes some of the bills are destroyed, erased. And that happened with the Online Harmful Act that was brought twice already. And both times it got destroyed because it's really disgusting and dystopian. And the opposition did its job to oppose such power grab. So as of right now, C8 and C9 can get that same outcome, being destroyed and erased. Hopefully this is what we are getting, because this is outrageous that some people that pretend to be liberal push for that kind of stuff. So let's get into both bills. So I will screen share the bills because I got the very important part. So we will start with C8, the essential part. So obligation to notify. The minister must, within 90 days after an order that includes provision prohibiting the disclosure of its existence or some of all of its content is made under section 15.1, 15.2, notify the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarian and the National Security and Intelligence Review Agency of the making order. So 90 days after they did that, they need to talk to the intelligence review agency. Um, it's still very long. It's ridiculous. Uh, do you want to add something on that first block?
No, I mean, a lot of this without going through it. Like, I mean, not your style, but more my style, is you would go through it, because what that does open a little bit more of an issue. A lot about bringing up what in the Online Safety Act, it's not a problem. The issue itself is who's in power and who wields the curmudgeon that's going to beat the person. Because there's been a lot of stuff that Democrats, for a while, like under Pelosi and them, thought they had government to unlock. For years, they didn't think they'd ever lose it. They changed the filibuster rule. Okay.
Yeah.
Where like, oh, that's going to beat you over the head. But a lot of this, granted, even in the U.S., we would oppose it because you really want that as a tool in your toolbox. Because a lot of the problem with C8 is the way they're doing it. If you put power into somebody, there is the potential it can be abused.
Yeah.
There's not the guarantee it will be abused. But a lot of times it's usually a matter of time before it happens. And that's a problem with a lot of C8. And if that's in the issue in C2 as well. C2, of course, has more. It's all about if you can violate it. That's not the worst part. I mean, a surveillance act is nothing new if you already are. I mean, if you're trying to update a law, as an example, let's assume we want to update Section 230. People are talking with the censorship laws in the U.S. We need to update the FCC codes that established 230. And we established all of that. That would be changing it. Now, C8 both has this, but it also has the monitoring. Now, the downside is, in the wrong hands, it will lead to abuse.
Yeah.
So,
and we've seen time and time, especially with the Emergency Act, with
the truckers. What?
Yeah.
Basically, Trudeau deemed the truckers an enemy of the state.
Yeah.
And then froze their assets. They were still having issues and still prosecuting people.
Yeah.
I mean, and in the bill, it's supposed to give, as I said, there's clauses that people talk about that you can use to monitor and cut off people. But there's also the process you have to deem that Sue or Bill that lives in the middle of nowhere is deemed that you can cut them off from the internet.
And again, if we had a warrant, if we had a solid case, if there was a paper trail, maybe I would be like, okay, you know what, that's fine. But there's no paper trail, there's no due process, there's no warrant, and they can simply tell Rogers or TELUS, you know what, don't provide that person any service, phone service, or internet service anymore. So they basically, the government can basically cut you off, without any like paper trail behind, and that's really disgusting. So let's read contravention of unpublished order and certificate. No person shall be convicted of an offense consistent of a contravention of an order made under section 15.1 and 15.2 unless it is proved that at the time of the alleged contravention the person had been notified of the order. So basically, I think I might be wrong, I might misunderstand, but what it says, you won't be able to defend yourself, uh, because they don't really have a warrant. They don't need a warrant. They can simply do it to you. I might be wrong on that.
I mean, worst case, if they don't have the warrant and they don't notify, if you're in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, you're going to tell me that they get a warrant and they tell you, let's say you don't check your phone, you just go to your house and they go, oh, you find out, they go, hey, honey, why is the internet not working? I don't know. You call the company and they go, oh, you had your internet cut off. Like,
And
that's like the nightmare scenario. But
and with C8, the other factor with C8 is they are not even like they by law the provider cannot even tell you what happened. That's another very worrying aspect to it. So absence of evidence. It's so dystopian. That's BS. The minister may require any person to provide to the minister or any person designated by the minister within any time and subject to any condition that the minister may specify. You know what, Joe Blow? I think he's dangerous. Let's do it. Why? I just think so. Any information that the minister believes on reasonable ground, like, oh, it's reasonable to say that that neighbor is dangerous. No need of a warrant. Let's just do it. Amending and or revoking an order under section 15.1 and 2.
See, as I said, a lot of this is when you're reading a law, you have to look it up from what the section is, because a lot of these, see, I'm more used to this. So a lot of this, it's like C8's a bigger, but it's not a monstrous one. You can definitely read through it. I mean, this is just the proposal. So half of this is just amending an already there or changing it because the telecommunications. Because bear in mind, a lot of this looks like this is an update to the already one you had. You may have to correct me if I'm wrong, from a couple of years ago. Wasn't it C19? C19 a couple of years ago that prioritized Canadian
C18. That's
C18. Yes.
Yeah.
The C8, I knew was one of them. C8, that.
Yeah, that one's bad. But if the governor in council believes on reasonable ground it is necessary to do so to secure the Canadian telecommunication system against any threat, including that of interference, manipulation, disruption, or degradation, the governor in council may, by order and after consultation with the person the governor in council consider appropriate. You see, I think in idea A is already outrageous and B is also outrageous, and the reason is it can be aimed at specific people and you don't need a warrant. You can just snipe someone and say, you know what, take that person off the internet.
I mean, that's what worst case scenario.
Yeah.
I mean, worst case scenario, that's what it opens. So the thing about this is, let's say you compare it to how we have in the Patriot Act. Like, if you read the Patriot Act, everyone thought it was like, oh, a Patriot Act or Contract with America back in the day by Gingrich and them. Or Contract on America, as the joke was. We had several of them. The controversial idea is, the reason why you oppose the Patriot Act is because of, X person in power is going to come after you and use it, right?
Yeah.
Be like, that's going to be like, that's what's going to happen, yes? But that doesn't mean that always happens, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because for us to combat terrorism and Islamic extremists post 9/11, it was only used, but that was government power, so we could monitor Ahmed or Muhammad, who was trying to attack people. And we never had another 9/11 after that for many years because we kept monitoring them. So, but it came at the cost of a little bit of a potential that the state could peek in on you. Now, realistically, we have an actual responsible governorship and responsible government that just doesn't crack open into. Americans are very adverse to Big Brother, but we also have faith that, like, to get like the FISA courts to approve surveillance on Trump, they needed the Steele dossier, which was already kind of false. They had to have 4 or 5 major documents even to get that FISA warrant to work. But it depends what the judge's burden of proof is up there where you guys are. Our FISA courts want a definite, you need to prove that this mobster or this gangster is doing legit shit wrong. You know what I mean? You gotta
Yeah.
prove it.
Usually, to get our warrant, it's the same trap, and that's why they want to make it easier for them to do abuse of power.
But I mean, it opens
Disgusting.
it opens the door, because I think the downside with you guys is you have what is like a weaker NSA. Because the difference between our CIA and NSA is more domestic. Now, the big problem is you're taking in a lot of Muslim people. Now, the issue is you have Chinese infiltration going on up there too. But you do not have the actual infrastructure. See, we have the NSA and we have the FBI, which allows for, in other agencies, it allow for monitoring.
Yeah.
If we ever have to find these people. Because up there, you're taking an influx of largely Indians and Muslims. Now, the problem itself is the ones in the West and others do, if they're in the Arabic or Muslim persuasion, have a tendency to be extremist. In the worst case, you're trying to monitor for Chinese agents, which we recently just found another agent inside. That was a story this week, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I'm not surprised. So, just before we close off with C8, just imagine there's that independent media that really always find dirt on you as the government, and you're like, you know what? Let's silence them. Let's shut them off the internet. Boom.
But you don't have, but here's the thing. You don't have anything like a Bill of Rights that protects the freedom of the press. See, that's the big thing. Here we have several documents besides our Constitution. Bill of Rights allows freedom of assembly.
Our Charter of Rights
cetera,
is
cetera.
constantly being trampled on by the
Yeah, I told you.
so-called liberals.
Do you actually, okay, see, what people forget, the only time you can suspend the Bill of Rights, in the case, the idea of it, is if you can deem there's a threat of violence. Strangely enough, our founding fathers had the foresight, right to bear arms, and amongst that is also the freedom of the press. The press back then was by far more militant than now. So they were just as bad.
And I will say this before we move on to C9. It's funny because our philosophy, our train of thought as stupid Canadian is the government is good. The government is there to protect you, therefore you must trust him. And you guys in the USA, it's like the government can abuse their power, so let's make sure they can't. I think that's how you
hope
build
that
your charter.
we just hope that the custodians of power maintain it, because usually our liberals, which are the precursor to the ones you have up where you are, yes, you can call the orange man Hitler all you want, but it doesn't mean he actually is. So the idea is, in the US, we always fear tyrannical power. This is why about every 6 to 8 years, we always change out the parties that be, because we don't really allow supermajorities. Yeah, Trump can beat. Look, don't get me wrong. Democrats have screwed the pooch so much. The faith in them is anything but. It's all up to Trump to prove he's not. Like, they can go, their only thing against him is they can go, he wants tyrant power. He wants this. But we can go back as moderates and conservatives and independents and go look at the Biden administration. They wanted totalitarianism. But we can go back and look at the presidency back to Obama. People forget our president can be a tyrant. Our federal government, as I stated the other day, in the censorship. This is the next wave, and you're probably going to see it up where you are, but our stuff, our federal government has power. Our presidents have power. But if they don't abuse that power, they use it responsibly, yeah, you can't really say shit. Because if our president wants to mobilize the military for an operation and finds a way to justify it, unless it's doing something, he or she can do it.
Okay, well, now let's get into C9, the thing that trample on our Charter of Rights with the freedom of expression. So let's do this. In this section, hatred has the same meaning as the subsection. Clarification. For greater certainty, the commission of an offense under this act or any other act in Parliament is not, for the purpose of this section, motivated by hatred based on any of the factors mentioned in subsection 1, solely because it discredits, humiliates, hurts, or offends. Offends! If I call someone stupid, he is offended. That's enough to be deemed a freaking hate crime now. Saying
It's
someone
not
is
explicit.
stupid.
You still remember, you still need to bring charges. The problem itself, and this is in the US, you guys have up there for years what is called a section of harm reduction policy. Now, harm reduction usually applies to drugs, but as applied as a philosophy by liberal ideology or progressive ideology, it means to reduce harm of anything. But when you have roughly a soft, I'm not saying we need to have, part of your thing that I think C8 wants to do, and it's either C8.
Now it's C9. It's C9.
No, it's either C8 or C9 wants to do, is you want to go to the 3 strike laws. That's a bad idea. We could tell you that in the US.
The street strike is another entire other thing.
But the thing about, like, I guess that's another. But see, on this is, you have to understand, in modern liberal ideology as it stands now towards the neoliberals and the others, US, we don't have that. You could still call someone autistic. See, prime example, I'm 40. Gaming words, a Call of Duty or Battlefield lobby, we would tell someone to go suck something, or you're autistic, or you're stupid, or you're retarded. Oh, no. But modern terms, you can't call someone retarded. You can't call someone autistic because that would be ableism. Now, under companies, you can still be reported for that. They're not banned unless you're in Riot Games or Marvel Rivals, but it happens. The problem is ableism. That falls under ableism and discrimination.
Yeah. So now let's do the rest because it's so infuriating, it's so frustrating, it's so disgusting. Let's do this. Limitation 4. No proceeding shall be commenced under subsection 1 by way of indictment if the included offense may be prosecuted only by way of summary conviction proceeding. It leads already to a case when you offend someone. This is basically what it means.
So
Maximum penalty, which is crazy. Everyone who is found guilty of an indictable offense under subsection 1 is liable to a term of imprisonment of not more than 5 years if the maximum term of imprisonment for the included offense is 2 years or more, but less than 5 years. So basically, it's if you're deemed less than 5, it's 2 years to 2 to 5 years. So they really want to keep you in jail. Now, B, 10 years if the maximum term of imprisonment of the included offense is 5 years or more, but less than 10 years. So they based on my understanding, and I might be wrong, but they want to always push the maximum sentence they can. So if they say it's 6 years, it will be 10 years. If they say it's 2 years, it will be 5 years. It's ridiculous.
no, the thing is, well, okay. So everyone found guilty of an indictable offense under subsection 1 is liable to that. Now, federally, here's like the difference between federal and state charges. Let's take Charlie Kirk's shooter as an example. He probably has a state and a potential federal case if someone really wanted to pursue it. Feds, so let's say a crime is committed under the idea of using an ideology of hate. Prime example, white guy goes into a black club, shoots up a bunch of people, says, I hate whatever. Now, you could make the case that was done and the guy turns out racist and hates black people. Fine. That might be a motivation to make the punishment worse. Now, you have to prove that the person did it out of it. Now, it could just be updating sentencing guidelines.
It's always up to the maximum we can give.
They
basically
scare the shit out of people with that anyways. Like, if you've ever read the U.S. Penal Code, it's like, oh, this is maximum. You can go to jail. Like, but traditionally, unless the person is like a serial person, they don't throw someone away. Because there's a thing around here before. Because if you go up one, go up to 3201, which is the section above the definition of hate. Everyone who commits an offense referred to in this section as the included offense under this act or any other act of parliament, if the commission is included in the offense, is based on race, national or ethnic origin, language, color, religion, sex, age, mental or physical disability, sexual orientation, or gender identity or expression is guilty of indictable offense and liable to the punishment under subsection 5, or be found guilty of the punishable summary conviction. So they said motivated by hatred based on race, national or ethnic origin, color, religion, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. So now let's get to C. 14 years if the maximum term of imprisonment of the offense is 10 or more years. So again, always to the area up. And the crazy thing, they want to throw away the key of the cell after they locked you up. And if it's more than 14 years, you can get life in prison for saying someone is stupid on the freaking internet. It's nasty. Like, who can pretend they are the party of the freaking Charter of Right if we have freedom of expression in our charter and that C9 BS want to change it so they can lock you up for life for speaking out? It's so stupid. And the worse than that, some of these stupid liberal voters, they freaking believe in that and they defend this shit. I said it.
I mean,
Canada is doomed.
If you
Canadians
have
are stupid.
if you have an actual populace that is used to it, why wouldn't that be the case? Because what you're talking about legitly is more along the lines of actual. No, part of the thing is, all right, you go into a community, let's say in my neighborhood, relatively safe. You know who your neighbors are. You see a strange man or woman walking down the street. They look like they're on a substance. They look like they might have a weapon. Is someone in that neighborhood
It's offensive.
wrong, in your opinion, to be called the cops on them? No.
It's
right?
offensive.
No, but think about this. The idea of any human society is you have a community that manages their own. Because you wouldn't be offended in your local area. You're going to go watch that person. You don't know why they may not be a bad person. They may be lost. But in another society, your neighbor snitches on the other neighbor in the worst case scenario if they've done stuff. That's the worst case scenario.
Yeah, it's awful. So let's get into committee people debating these laws, draconian laws.
The honourable member for Brantford, Brant, Six Nations.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. A couple of housekeeping matters to address. Seeking consent from the House to be able to split my time.
Does the honourable member have consent to split his time? Yeah, agreed.
I thank my colleagues, and I'll be splitting my time with mon collègue du Mont.
My colleague, the member for Montmorency-Charlevoix.
I'll have to work on my French. So, Madam Speaker, it's always a pleasure to rise and speak on behalf of the incredible residents that put me in this incredible position to represent them in the House of Commons. Today I rise to speak to this government bill, Bill C9, the Combating Hate Act. Let me begin where I think all of us in this House can agree. We support the objective of protecting vulnerable communities from the rising levels of hate and extremism that we see literally daily in this country. We support giving police and prosecutors the tools they need to keep Canadians safe from coast to coast, in their homes, in their schools, in their places of worship, and in community spaces. But, Madam Speaker, the bill itself is currently flawed in its current form. It cannot go ahead as the Liberals have drafted it, and it is my duty today to explain why. First, we need to talk about timing. Where was this legislation almost 2 years ago? We are about to not celebrate, but to approach the October 7th massacre in Israel. So where was this government in terms of advancing legislation? Because literally overnight we saw an expansion of hatred directed towards Jewish peoples. And it wasn't in just large cities, it just penetrated the entire country. Jewish Canadians were targeted in their communities. Students were harassed simply for going to school. Synagogues across this country were being shot at a regular basis, being firebombed. They had to increase their level of security. Where was this Liberal government to address these criminal acts?
Nowhere to be found
Where were the
because we have
Liberals
Trudeau.
as Islamophobia rose in Canada, when mosques were threatened, when Muslim families felt unsafe simply walking in their neighborhoods. And let's not forget, there's absolutely zero reference to Christianity. Christianity is under attack in this country. I don't know what was funny about Christianity being under attack, but nevertheless,
That's probably a liberal crazy
churches
nutcase.
have
Okay,
been
pause that.
burned.
Second.
Christian churches have been burned, and
So what you're saying, and then this is now the problem is your C-SPAN, like C-SPAN, goes a little bit long. Okay, now you can invoke October 7th and say that. Now, there's a video, and if you ever really want to find it, multi, and you can find it, it's a bunch of what is the. I'm not saying that all Islamic people are not this way. There's a section of them that are. One went to Canada, and this what happened to be in Canada. They're like, oh, you're not having kids. So in 30 or 40 years, we will dominate you. Well, shit. They're violent. There is in a section of Islam that has extremists in it. They were firebombing things. They've been doing it in Europe. They've been burning down churches for years. You can ask France.
Yeah, I know it's coming. You mentioned the burning.
And this is the
churches.
thing. That's motivated out of hate crimes of an ideology. But
again, burning churches is already a crime in itself. It's arson. You can do jail time if you're not on bail because stupid liberal laws.
Is it a basically total legit? But like, I mean, hell, people still believe Notre Dame burning in France was actually an arson. Believe it or not, they just can't prove it. And it was like, oh, it's an old wooden church. It just happened to catch electrical fire. Sure, but no, the leading theory was arson done years ago by either an atheist or a Muslim, but never 100% proven. And that was a global document.
alarming rate. Between May of 2021 and December of 2023, 33 Christian churches have been burned in this country, with the vast majority being arson-based. For years, communities cried out for protection. What they got instead from their federal Liberal government was silence. And now, years late, the government has tabled a bill that, quite frankly, feels more like a political gesture than a serious plan. Make no mistake, Madam Speaker, the numbers are alarming. Since 2015, police reported hate crimes in Canada have increased by 258%. Anti-Semitic hate crimes alone are up 416%. Hate crimes against South Asians have risen by almost 380%.
I wonder.
In 2024 alone, Canada saw almost 5,000 police-reported hate crimes, the highest number on record. In Toronto alone, hate crime occurrences jumped by 19% in a single year. with assault-related hate crimes rising by 42%. These numbers are not just statistics, they represent real Canadians, our neighbors, our friends, our co-workers, our children, who all deserve confidence knowing that they are safe and secure. This is why Conservatives have been abundantly clear. We support stronger protections. But
But you gotta
supporting that
think, who
objective
was
does
the
not
people
mean
they've been
rubber
bringing in
stamping a flawed
force
piece of
in
legislation.
droves in this last
What
10
are the
years,
problems with Bill C-9?
last 8
The bill
years.
as drafted is vague and broad. Civil liberty organizations across Canada have already raised the alarm. The Canadian Civil Liberties Association has warned that the intimidation and obstruction provisions risk capturing peaceful protest and legitimate dissent.
So vague and broad dissent. I connect the dots the same he does. You see, if you dissent, if C9 is in place, jail time. And it can be for life. So no dissent anymore because you can spend some time in jail for life. It's China BS thing happening up north here in Canada. It's utter disgust. It's
So-
nasty. I hate it so much. Anyway,
So
let's-
the big thing about, see, what's funny is he brings up not that the idea you have the church burnings. Now, this is where we conduct the exercise in the U.S., like everybody, when they talk about, because you also have an immigration bill going through as well. So, and I'm not pointing fingers, it's just, I'm not going to be
I
pointing,
do.
it's
all
going to
because of
sound
the
funny
liberals.
because our U.S. is different. We've been bringing in, see, contrary to popular belief, we do get northern illegal immigration. Not as much as the south, but it does happen. Southern border, believe it or
Yeah.
not. But Europe started to see a spike in hate crimes. See, when the Syrian civil war broke out years ago, a lot of them started fleeing towards Europe. And shortly thereafter, you started seeing a lot of SA, a lot of crimes, a lot of hate crimes rise. And funny in the U.S., the funny in Europe,
In the UK, it's like that.
Germany was one of the first, and even to this day, I think last year, a non-motivated man out of family pride shoved a truck, weaponized it, shoved it into a fruit stand and into a building, and tried to honor kill someone inside the building. So the German media reported it as crazy man rammed a truck into a building, and neglecting the part it was religiously motivated by the guy. And you got to think about who you're taking in. In the U.S., we've been taking in a lot of Venezuelan migrants, a lot of Latin American migrants over the last decade. Some have been violent, and those are the ones getting deported by ICE and other things. So up there, you're probably getting a special variety of people who are problematic to your population, and you're seeing what we are starting to see in places like Dearborn, Michigan. Dearborn, Michigan has an entire council of mainly Muslims, similar to Utah, which has a lot of Mormons. But it's the exact opposite. They scream Islamophobia and other things, but they can't prosecute us. But they have things. So if you're seeing a rise in a new population coming in with violence, there might be a trend. That sounds weird, but
No, it doesn't. I like it.
as I said, and you wonder in the U.S. why we've been trying to get our illegal immigration underneath a well enough heel of control. Biden just allowed in about 4 million Venezuelans. Okay? Not all of
Okay.
them are good people. But I mean, I live in Texas, right? So in southern border, we already have our share of cartel violence. Again, bear in mind, securing borders is something we've asked for. But then again, what you're seeing in the potential part of this bill, it means well, but largely you need the means to control it. Which, the thing is, here in the U.S., our liberal people don't understand the people they wanted to bring in. The thing is, they're very different Muslims from what you think are the peaceful ones at times. As an example, just as they think there's peaceful cartel people fleeing, they're just fleeing drug-infested areas. No. The thing is, and
they break it with them.
This is a
guys.
whole thing about them. When you look at like the Middle Eastern, like Saudis style of Islamic people, they don't prescribe to the same radicalism as the ones spreading through Europe saying we're going to outbreed you and control you. No offense, this is just culture on their side. There's a difference between the ones that come from there, then the ones that go to Pakistan, and then the ones who go to Europe. Now, it's just interesting, but see, you guys still have an honest reporting system on your federal crimes. Here, they just say it's a bunch of white people committing crimes. But the RFBI likes to report crimes as, did you know Asians are white people? Did you know light-skinned Hispanics are white people? So, again, this is the weekend.
All white.
Let me just say this. They don't report the crimes honestly, so you can just report the violent. Just remember, when you hear our liberals, or if they have a liberal ideology in the U.S., preach about safety. Last weekend, there was just 29 shootings in Chicago.
The BC Civil Liberties Association said the same. The poorly drafted language could criminalize demonstrations, even when they are peaceful and lawful. These are independent organizations dedicated to protecting charter rights, and they are telling us loudly that Bill C-9 risks going too far. As you've heard by way of questioning to the minister, the removal of Attorney General consent for hate propaganda charges. Police officers and prosecutors I have spoken with see that consent as an important safeguard, a so-called safety valve that ensures these powerful tools are not misused. Now, the minister, in response to a question from my colleague from York Centre, in my view, minimize the potential consequential impact of removing Attorney General consent from private prosecutions. His response...
I will also add this. The Attorney General is not a political figure. He is a figure within the justice system, which is very important. Because if you take him out and you replace the guy with the government, then you can politically drive.
I would assume your Attorney General is in ours, is our Attorney Generals to us are the chief prosecutors in the area they are.
They are very similar to...
You have them and you have, it's like a lieutenant attorney general, and underneath, they're the ones at the head of states. Like every state has an attorney general as well as a lieutenant attorney general, where
The same goes here in Canada.
they're basically the chief law enforcement officers for the state next to the DOJ, which is at the federal government.
But ours are really connected to the justice system. They are not connected to any political party. And that's very important.
Well, that's what ours are. They just are.
If you take that component away and you replace it with the government, liberals, if you end up watching it, I doubt you will, but if you do, ask yourself how dangerous it can become. Because now the government in place, if it's a conservative and he hates the gays, well, your gays will be in jail. This is all ridiculous. This is getting here.
Well, the thing is, you still have moderate liberals. That's where you have it a little bit better over us. The problem is in the States, we have, if you ever want to see the clown car or the shows in the areas, it's entire clown cars, is as ICE tries to go and clean up these criminals, we have to bring in National Guard to protect the ICE officers.
Yeah.
Because we have Antifa protesters who go out and either protest or attack potentially if they could get away with it. We have entire areas of the U.S. I'm not saying it at the time they're lost, but for the moment, they're not even, like, Antifa isn't left or right at the end of the day. They have always been their own side, borderline anarchists. Like in Portland and Seattle, they're harassing the ICE officials and the cops. They have badgered the cops of the city into not doing shit. So we have entire areas of the U.S. that the federal government, to restore order, to get their job done, and enforce ICE or other restrictions, Trump has been sending these people to these cities, and the cops are like, we can't get involved. And then when they go to do their jobs, they're being threatened by the thugs on the street. As I said, Chicago last weekend, knowing that ICE and federal agents were incoming, just casually had a decreased number of shootings of 29.
Yeah.
So this is the thing. You still have moderate liberals up there that would report the news. We don't. The news
don't exist in the USA.
Was we want to remove the political influence. As a former member of the Attorney General's office in the province of Ontario, I'm rather offended by that, because he is indicating that my boss at that time, the provincial Attorney General, was highly political, and his consent or her consent to continuing a prosecution was made depending on what political affiliation he or she belonged to. That is nonsense. Absolute nonsense. It is a safety valve that has been in place for some significant time. It is not an onerous requirement, and it ensures that legitimate charges are prosecuted as laid by the police, but more importantly, it will limit and almost completely eliminate overzealous litigants, private litigants, who feel for whatever reason that they want to lay a private complaint against another individual for comments that they deemed to be offensive in the circumstances. So it provides a very important safeguard, Madam Speaker. The third problem I identify is the definition of hatred, and I kind of raised this issue already with the minister. C9 has drafted, they indicate, the government indicates, the minister just indicated that it codified the definition of hatred as found in the Supreme Court of Canada as being defined as detestation or vilification. On its face, this seems consistent, but by removing the word extreme in the definition by learned justices in the Supreme Court of Canada, this government has lowered the legal threshold, enabling police to lay a multitude of charges at a lower level of inspection and investigation, which in my view could open up the floodgates for litigation. That is a concern. When they say they codify, they should be using the exact words in the Supreme Court of Canada.
Extreme, eliminating
that is
extreme
protected in a free democracy could be
does
swept
lessen
into
the
a different
degree.
category as true hate. This is not what Canadians want. It is not what our charter says. Let me be clear. Conservatives support the goal of keeping Canadians safe from hate-motivated crime. We support police and prosecutors having the tools they need to act. We support ensuring synagogues, mosques, cultural centers, and schools are safe, but we also support protecting civil liberties. And I see my time is coming to a fast end, so I'm going to conclude with the following. Canadians deserve protection from hate. They need to feel safe wherever they may be. They deserve to live in a country where freedom of speech and peaceful protests are respected. Bill C9 as drafted does not get that balance right. It is flawed, it is late, it cannot proceed in its current form. We support protecting Canadians from threats, intimidation, obstruction, and violence, but we will not rubber stamp a flawed bill. We will stand up for vulnerable communities and for civil liberties. We will push for a law that truly represents and protects Canadians without undermining the freedoms they defined as a country. That is our commitment, that is our responsibility, and that is the balance Canadians expect us to strike. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Well, see, the problem is what he says, eliminating extremists from the definition lessens the
Jewish
requirement.
organizations, and one issue that they brought up was that having to have the charge cleared through the Attorney General had made it so cumbersome that no charges were ever laid. So although there are
Well, I'd
provisions
rather
to
have
encourage-
that than someone sitting in jail for life because he said the government sucks or my neighbor is stupid. I'd rather have that. But hey, liberals, they like to punish people. Cancel culture is their idea.
No, I don't think it's cancel. So if she's going on the emotional sway, you can't prevent it. That whether it's bleeding hearts or they actually believe it, it's less about the control. Hypothetically, let's just say liberals who do say some, even in the U.S. or progressives even, which are very much different, and they're in both parties, say they're the party of empathy. Now, let's assume she is the, Secretary of
No, she's not
Combating
even
Crime.
She's not even that post. She is something else.
So let's take into account if the argument is because it had to go through the Attorney General and that legal process to approve a crime committed by 100% or a majority of a doubt that it's a hate crime, she said it wasn't happening at the frequency it should have. Now, watch if she doubles down and actively says they're not at the
hate
rate.
crimes, not a standalone one like this bill creates. It was very rarely enforced, and the community felt oftentimes threatened, intimidated,
What did I
and
say?
the victims of hate crimes that were never prosecuted in court. I want to know what
You
my
didn't
colleague
go far
feels
enough.
about those
It didn't
comments
happen
that came
enough.
from Jewish organizations.
Member for Brantford,
What did
Brant
I
South,
say, Multi?
Six Nations.
Without watching it.
I've got several responses. Madam Secretary. Firstly, I thank my friend for asking that particular question. So I want to highlight again, obtaining Attorney General consent is not a cumbersome process. There are a number of potential prosecutions and offenses currently in the criminal code that already require Attorney General consent. So the issue that is too timely, it will delay a potential prosecution, I can lay to rest because that is not reality. The other issue that she raises is whether or not the issue of private prosecutions can be overcome by the Attorney General consent. And as I indicated in my speech, Madam Speaker, that raises the specter of overzealous litigants simply abusing the process. The act is currently stated that this particular form of hatred needs to be attached to another offense of any other act of Parliament. So that could include our political opponents under the Elections Act. There could be numerous examples where things that are said under the guise of freedom of expression can be determined by a political opponent to be vilified or somehow a detestation element, and therefore they want to proceed with the prosecution.
And boom, life in jail for opposing the current government because you are the opposition. There
Well,
we go. That's
The
what they
problem
want.
is, what did I say,
That is why
Multi?
you need Attorney General.
She's doing the same. You need it to prove it. It's the
General
burden
consent.
of proof
Le
that they
député
require.
Jonquière.
Honourable Member for Jonquière. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. As we said, this bill does have some merit. It needs to be studied at committee. Earlier, the minister, in responding to response to two questions, said he was ready to look at the
I think
religious
that's
exemption
a block.
with respect to studies at committee. I'm wondering, is the Conservative Party also open to this and ready to review the religious exemption that is
View it.
given
That's a block
when
guy.
hateful symbols are shown?
Brantford South, Six Nations.
Nothing is off the table.
Questions and comments? The Honourable Member for Edmonton Centre. I said Edmonton West, I'm sorry.
So not to worry, Edmonton Centre will be Conservative again, I'm sure, next election. I want to thank my colleague for his speech, and he brought up the issue of churches being burnt down. Now we've seen a massive increase in hate attacks across the country since this government took power 10 long years ago. I wonder if my colleague could comment on what has taken the government, or why it's taken them so long to act, and also the previous Prime Minister's comment about burning churches down was, quote, fully understandable.
Member for Brantford, Brant South, Six Nations.
I find Justin Trudeau's comments in this House and outside this House with respect to the burning down of Christian churches to be absolutely repulsive. It was a disgusting, disgusting statement by the head of a G7 country. And in my view, it's emblematic of how this particular government has vilified Christianity in the House of Commons. Every time a church was burned, we would be bringing it up in the House of Commons, trying to elicit response from this government, and nothing but crickets. Nothing but crickets on that side, which is disgusting, Madam Speaker.
And that marks the end of Larry Brock's segment. Now, you can pull up the fifth one, which is the gray-haired guy. Well, actually, you removed two we would use next.
Oh, shit.
So the black chick Andrew Lawton and the
used her.
yeah. So the black chick, Andrew Lawton, and the third one is the
Let's see.
C8 gray hair guy.
That allows this one. No. You're talking about the other one. Yeah. You're talking about this one?
The thumbnail has the no, not that one. The thumbnail has the blue wire on the router. I think that's a router.
What's the title?
The gray guy. Bill C8 allows the government to ban you from the internet.
That one. You said no.
Yeah, that one.
Oh, the funny part, I know him because he appears usually with the fray. So.
And the third one that's missing is the Andrew Lawton. So that's Justice Minister admits Bill C9 will apply to online posts. So these are the last three we are covering. So let's get into the next one that we'll talk about.
What's the title of that one?
So the title is Justice Minister admits Bill C9 will apply to online posts.
I forgot it has a weird thumbnail. We don't. Yeah. That's how it downloaded. So you're all good.
And my honorable colleagues, I rise today to address Bill C9, the Combating Hate Act, and specifically the changes to Section 319.6 and the introduction of Section 319.7 of the Criminal Code. I strongly support protecting religious freedom and ensuring that all Canadians are safe from hate and violence. But Bill C9 does not do that effectively. I have three serious concerns about Bill C9. First, it omits the protection of Christians, despite the fact that more than 100 churches have been burned and vandalized in Canada since 2021. Second, it removes the safeguard of the Attorney General's consent under Section 319. This risk...
Hello, Miss Sparkle.
Hi, sorry it took so long.
Oh, that's fine. We speak about freedom of speech dying in Canada and being in very bad danger. So I will catch you up to speed.
Okay.
We have right now two bills that are being talked about in Parliament, C8 and C9. C8 want to deplatform people that don't align with the government. C9 want to silence people that may create dissent, and they want to weaponize words, and they want to send people in jail for saying you're stupid, and they want to throw out the key so you spend the rest of your life in jail. So
that's awful, but yeah.
That's
so what are your guys' freedom of the speech already? Like, what do you guys have? Like, what's your guys' things? Like we have the First Amendment, I think is whatever amendment was for freedom of speech.
Charter of Rights.
So in Canada, we have freedom of expression. Okay. And this is not as protected as freedom of speech in the USA. So freedom of expression basically tells you can say light things like you're stupid, and that's not that bad, so that's fine. You're covered, and if you criticize the government, you're fine as well. But here's the thing. We enter the hate speech if we say, let's genocide that group, or that group is full of piece of garbage, or that group is dangerous, or that group is this. But
so, like, when I was getting evicted for when my mom told the Muslims, yelled at the Muslims and said that they treat their people like dogs and they need to go back home, she would get out of trouble, huh?
Yeah, exactly. But what's going on as well is, if someone if someone go after you for saying the Muslim are bad or something like that, there's the attorney general that take the case and that sees, okay, what's the statement, what's going on there, is it justified, and what kind of things we'll do against the person that did hate speech. And usually under our current laws, depending on the gravity of what you said, you can spend a few months in jail, all the way up to 5 to 10 years.
Wild.
10
That's wild.
10 years is like the most extreme. Like, you speak about genocide and you like, you're dangerous, and maybe you did attack someone and added some really harmful things. So like, that's some of the most extreme cases. And again, there's that attorney general that's there that makes sure, okay, do we have a case and how bad this is? If
she probably would have gotten in big trouble, dude.
It's just redoing the sentencing guidelines.
If I say to someone, you're stupid, and that person complains at the attorney general is like, are you serious? Like, it's a joke, so we won't go after that person. But if I tell all of these people very harmful thing, maybe they will go through and
what
say,
would be considered harmful? Like,
well, let's genocide that group. Or
okay, yeah.
All of the people that are like that should die. Or really, like, inciting violence is like,
or hell, like, I'll be honest, if you want to get into it, it is the weekend of Battlefield 6 release. Imagine the war crimes going on in DC over on console. Can you imagine what people would call war crimes?
Well,
because if you do not know, COD chats in Battlefield voice chats are the most pleasant things ever.
No, I played Black Ops. I was really good at Black Ops. I don't know what hate you guys are talking about when women got hate. I didn't get hate. The worst I got called stuff was when I played Uno online on Xbox.
The joke, the insert joke here, the amount of N-words and R-words and autistic you are going to be, that would be very considered extreme. But
if I personally advocate for violence, I can be in trouble. But again, it depends how bad the violence I advocate for is.
Okay, because they tried to kick me out and my mom out, and they said that she said violent. She was doing violent speech, and what she said to them, because they were being rude and loud outside, she yelled at them that they treat their women like dogs, they worship a pedophile, and they need to go back to where they came from, that they're illegals.
Yeah. Well, that's that case you're saying right now. I think if it goes to the attorney general, usually they would say, you know what, maybe you will need to pay a fine or something. I think.
Man, it's more.
The picture of her is horrible too. The picture of her that they showed was horrible. It made her look evil. But
yeah. But again, it depends. It's a case by case. And again, the attorney general, usually they are there to make sure we don't go after the people that are under the freedom of expression. It's really about if someone is really hateful and incite to violence. Inciting to violence is really, really bad here in Canada. Well, yeah. So again, we already have laws, we already have safeguards, and what they want to do with C9 is they want to make it more vague and broader and more harsh as well. So again, I will repeat what I already said. With C9 in the current state, you can say someone is stupid, and guess what? They can send you in jail for life for that.
That's awful.
This is all vague and broad.
That's because your Supreme Court deemed. They basically said they changed the term and they took out the word extreme use to justify it. It's not that it just bypasses the step of the Attorney General.
Well, it actually does, because what it does as well. So I mentioned the Attorney General. So C9 wants to take the Attorney General out of the equation, and they want to replace him with the government and the cabinet, which is really bad and dangerous. When you really look into it, like, the Attorney General is someone that works for the justice court. So he's not a political figure. He is really like someone that represents the law. And what they want to do with C9, they want to take him out so they can replace him with the government, which
the problem is when
really
you
bad.
change the language.
It sounds like they're trying to
Multi.
control you guys. Like, it just sounds very controlling, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly.
The changing the language, if the clarification under the old rule was an extreme use, by changing it, the term, it allows for more prosecution. Multi, remember what I said. If that lady who works in the justice said, as she said, I said, watch her say, and I hadn't watched that entirely.
Yeah. So
I said,
What
watch
is
her
this,
say. I
So-
said, watch her say.
Yeah.
The idea that it wasn't happening at the prosecution rate, that a side or a group of people thought it was, because according to them, they want to change it because they feel there's more hate crimes going on, and the attorney general, that step, is not prosecuting.
And also, they see the poll are not going in their favor anymore, so they want to silence the opposition. But again,
Okay, so so you guys are done with the debating about each other and stuff.
Yeah.
So what is this exactly?
So right now it's what we call committee. So what's going on in committee? They criticize in law committee right now. It's bill committee. So the opposition party, which is the conservative, they have MPs, like member of parliament, like the one you see right now, and her job is here to say, you know what, your law, your bill is flawed, your law, your bill is dangerous, and here's the why. And she will try to convince the government in place to change it, or the viewer to bring awareness of the risk of that law. So that's her job. And the job of the liberal is to try to defend that draconian and fascist law. So that's what's going on. Let's do this.
Hate speech being weaponized as a political tool by any party in power by letting the government decide, the government minister decide who gets charged. Third, it waters down the definition of hatred to something so vague and so subjective that it risks encroaching on the very Charter of Rights and Freedoms contained in Section 2B. Beginning with my first objection to Bill C-9, I find it quite perplexing that Christian hate was not even mentioned in the bill. In recent years, we have seen alarming hate-motivated attacks, including burning and vandalism of churches across Canada. Just last week, a century-old Ukrainian Orthodox church in Edmonton was burned to the ground. As we witness a record number of sacred spaces being destroyed, Christians have noticed the government's silence. Congregations have been left in fear, and people of faith feeling abandoned by their government's lack of enforcement of existing laws. In this context, it is shocking that a bill about combating hate is completely silent on the rise of Christian hate. The government's press release mentions anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, homophobia, and transphobia, yet it makes no mention of the rise of hate crimes towards Christians. This bill
doesn't exist.
not add new protections.
Yeah, sure, okay.
Instead,
Oh, I'm Alan. Okay.
expand state
I'm
powers
joking.
by
I know you are.
removing
I'm just joking.
legal
I knew you were.
safeguards and
Your hair actually looks
watering
nice
down
tonight.
the definition of hate speech. It paves the
Thank
path
you.
towards politicizing restrictions on speech. It even risks criminalizing dissent to what some would call thought crimes.
Thought
We
crimes.
must exercise caution. Once such powers are granted to the government, they can be weaponized by any government against its critics. The existing criminal code already covers the most serious offenses. Section 318 makes it a crime to advocate or promote genocide. Section 319 criminalizes public incitement of hatred and willful promotion of hate and speech that would lead to a breach of peace. These provisions already strike a careful balance between protecting Canadians from true hate and safeguarding freedom of expression. Bill C-9 attempts to redefine hatred so vaguely that it risks capturing legitimate debate. We've seen how this plays out elsewhere in the world. In the UK, a man was arrested for holding a blank protest sign because authorities said it could be interpreted as offensive. In Australia, parents were investigated for hate speech after questioning gender policies at their school. In New Zealand, academics were threatened with jail for quoting banned manifestos. Canada is not immune. We are crossing into a dangerous line of removing the provincial attorney general's consent and oversight and leaving charges in the hands of a minister appointed by the Prime Minister. This Liberal government has given us reason to.
So basically, she said exactly what I told you about. They want to replace the Attorney General, which is not a political figure, to a political figure being the Prime Minister or a cabinet member deemed competent enough to do the decision. So instead of having the Attorney General charging you for something, it's the Prime Minister himself, or
oh goodness, yeah, that's crazy,
or someone that works under him. So you see, I agree with you. You say it's crazy, but like they are talking about implementing this crap. You know, like that's what I'm saying. Freedom of speech in Canada is in danger with such like nutcase bill they are trying to force through, man.
And then listening to her,
nasty.
she's talking about like Christian hate crime and all that. So I asked Copilot, for Microsoft, about what the hate crimes are there, and it's increased by 32%. But it said that it's increased against number one is religious-based hate crimes are up 67%, largely against Jews and Muslims. And then it says it's sexual orientation. But then it also says that underreporting is a problem. So the only people that are reporting are like the Muslims is what I'm getting out of it. Like, it's just crazy because like there's barely anything on Christian. And then it says hate crimes against Christians in Canada are significantly underreported, despite documents of instances of, and it says by the government, unreported by national statistics, despite documentation of church burnings and vandalism, while Jewish and Muslim communities face the highest number of police reported religious hate. So Christians aren't reporting the hate, or are they not documenting it?
Yeah.
Which one is it? They're not
Both.
documenting it?
I think it's both.
Probably both. You assume that part of the problem itself is if Canada was already way ahead. So like I was telling him, in the US, our FBI underreports crimes committed by minorities.
I know you showed me that.
I showed that before.
He showed me it all night long. It was actually really interesting because I got to see that during.
It doesn't count, folks.
But in like Canada, there's a good chance if Canada's been for the last is a very secular or borderline atheist society outside of it is Islamic.
That's true.
You are.
And we kicked out Christianity a long time ago. So again, the small number of Christians that are left, they are really put aside. And
they're saying that it should be higher. The amount should be higher on the statistics, because it said that there's already 4 documented churches that have been burned, Christian churches, and over 100 burned last year, over the years, and all this stuff. But they're not. The government's not documenting it in the statistics. And then, it's crazy. Okay. So,
So you have a good picture of what's going on now.
Speech laws against their political opponents for political gain.
Wait, real fast. It says
Bill C9
Christian hate
introduces
crimes
a
may be
second
underreported because political framing. Some leaders argue it's not politically correct to highlight anti-Christian violence. What the fuck is that? I mean, what the hell is that?
The liberals, they despise Christian.
That's crazy. It says that though, yeah. Because it says that there's many gaps in reporting. That's crazy, man.
Subjective, emotionally driven definition of hatred that lowers the threshold lowers a threshold that was essentially set by the Supreme Court of Canada. As you know, as many of you know, this is important because hatred is not defined in our criminal code. Rather, it is the meaning is developed over decades through case law. The most notable being 2013 Supreme Court case of Saskatchewan v. Wachcott. In that case, the term hatred was defined as must be interpreted as meaning extreme manifestation of emotions described by words, detestation, and vilification, and should not include representations that merely discredit, offend, or insult. That objective standards test set by the Supreme Court protects freedom of expression while targeting real harm. This Liberal government seeks to overturn that Supreme Court definition with Bill C9 by replacing that decision with Section 319(7), which is found in C9. In this new section, the Liberal government wishes to redefine hatred as the emotion that involves detestation or vilification, and that is stronger than disdain or dislike. By removing the word extreme, it lowers the threshold that the Supreme Court has set and that has been put in place to protect free speech. By focusing on emotion rather than extreme manifestation, the government's new definition shifts attention to feelings rather than actual harm.
That's very liberal-like.
Citizens may self-censor. Prosecutors also gain wide discretion to pursue cases based on perceived emotion, not demonstrable harm. This creates a real risk that individuals may be penalized for strong dissent, or even without intent to incite hatred. So why does this matter? It's important to recognize that these harmful sections in Bill C9 can cause real issues to freedom of speech. It's because removing the Attorney General consent and watering it down to the definition of hatred directly threatens our fundamental freedom of expression contained in Section 2B of the Charter. Once charged with hate speech, a person's life could be ruined long before a verdict, careers lost, reputations destroyed, families fractured. Bill C9 amounts to cancel culture that is enforced by government power. Hatred against Christians, Jews, Muslims, or any faith group must be laws that protect against that must be enforced, and they exist under existing laws contained in Section 318 and 319. Bill C.
Making stuff redundant and ridiculous because now they want to put you in jail and throw out the key so you stay there for life.
9 doesn't create new protections. It creates a fake law. It pretends to fight hate while really concentrating power in the hands of Ottawa. By removing the Attorney General's oversight and inserting a vague new definition of hatred, this bill gives the government the tools to harass dissenters and weaponize the law for political gain. Colleagues, hate is real, and it must always be confronted. But we do not confront hate by weakening democracy. We do not confront hate by stripping away safeguards, criminalizing emotion, and centralizing power in Ottawa. The true test of democracy is not how we treat speech that we agree with, but how we protect the freedom of those with whom we profoundly disagree. Bill C9 fails that test. It risks turning the coercive apparatus of the state into a weapon of dissent. I stand here not just as a member of Parliament for the good people of Haltom and Norfolk, or as a lawyer, but as a Canadian and as a Christian who believes that freedom of expression is sacred. We already have laws that protect genuine hatred. We must now guarantee against governments that use language of protection as a cloak of control.
Questions and comments? Question and commentaire. The Honourable Member for Hamilton West, Ancaster Dundas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do appreciate the member opposite bringing up the issue of the use of legislation as a political tool. I've seen that firsthand in Hamilton, where activist members of the community use accusations of hatred and racism as a tool to silence political opposition. But let's be clear, that is not what is happening here. That is not what...
Gaslighting! Lies! Now he will try to defend that law because he's a liberal and he wants it. He wants the power.
Oh, him. Yeah, you don't like him. He's the guy you don't like, right?
No, I don't
oh,
like.
He looks a lot like the other guy. Then he looks.
I don't like, and most of these liberals MPs, I hate them. Like, there's only maybe 1 or 2 liberals. I'm like, you know what? These are like maybe decent human being behind their team, but like, I mean, that guy already started by gaslighting and lying. I am sorry, but like, that's the new liberal way. It's disgusting. Why people vote for them? I don't understand. Anyway,
I don't know. Well, maybe they're what do you call it? Maybe they're not. Maybe it's fraud. Maybe it's fraud. Maybe they're not really.
No, well, I think there are some stupid Canadian that really vote for that guy. But the irony in that, whoever voted for this guy there most likely didn't see that clip here. Otherwise, they would have regret instantly, like the gaslight there. I cannot stand it.
What's it called? C9, right? It's C9. It's called C9.
Yeah, C9. Yeah.
Yeah, because they have a list of stuff that's not allowed.
And the member opposite,
like symbols and stuff. I'm looking at it right now.
The intentions and the purpose of this bill are. So why doesn't she stand with members of her own community that are supportive, members of minority communities, members of police forces across Canada that are supportive of this bill, support what is being asked for as a necessary protection to those groups across Canada? Thank you.
No, protection to government, because now they have the weapon to shut up any freaking dissent. But hey, keep lying and gaslighting, liberal. That's like the only thing they can do now.
Yeah, so you're not allowed to have anything that represents any group that they consider terrorist.
Dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah, and like some of these groups are like, I don't know. That's crazy. I don't know.
It's so vague. It's so broad. Like, both opposition, you missed the first one, but like both opposition member that spoke out about that law are like, it's too broad, it's too vague, it's very dangerous.
Well, they have a list of stuff you're not allowed to have, symbols you're not allowed to use, and it says swastikas and stuff, but nobody even uses that anyways. And then it also says you're not allowed to use Hamas, Islamic revolutionaries, guard group.
And if you start banning symbols, you know what you can do? Because you're the liberals. You can expand and say, you know what? The freaking red thing behind me is eight symbol, prison and life.
Watch your flag. See that black like the UK with the flag, their flag. Well, it'll be considered like 8 symbol. Like
yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that black mic. It's 8. Let's send you to jail for life for this. Look at that headset. It's 8. It's hatred.
Oh gosh, I know.
Honourable Member for Haltom and Norfolk.
I thank the member for his thoughtful question. Mr. Speaker, I stand with members of all communities that are subject to hate. And what we do know is that the current criminal code has already contained within it sections that deal with hate. And this law is not about that. This law is about the concentration of government power so that it could be weaponized against dissenters. Mr. Speaker, Section 319(2) protects against hate symbols. Section 423, intimidation. Section 430, mischief of religious groups. These things are already in the criminal code. What the Liberals need to do is to enforce the law.
Questions and comments? Question et commentaire. The honourable member for Edmonton West.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my colleague from Alderman North for her passion and informed speech.
So he's another
People in this
conservative,
house,
that
and I
one.
spend a lot of time visiting places of faith. Only one in all of Edmonton, whether Christian, Hindu, Sikh, Muslim, actually has to have a police car out front at all times, and that is at our local synagogue. And that is a reflection of the rise in crime under this government. I wonder if my colleague sees anything in this bill that's going to stop this kind of hate that forces the Edmonton Police Service to offer up police protection only for one specific faith.
That's my Australian
The
friend
honourable member
in the
for
chat.
Alderman Norfolk.
He likes
Well,
Buddha.
Welcome
that
friend.
question. And I believe it was yesterday, no, a few days ago, we listened to the impassioned speech from the member from Toronto Centre, who is a person of Jewish heritage, Jewish faith. And it became very clear that this bill was not designed to protect that community. Existing right now are people of the Jewish faith who cannot even shop in grocery stores in a kosher line without being assaulted, and yet we.
And she says that, and I don't know if you heard about it, but there was a big bad incident where a father of two kids that are quite young, I can't remember the ages, but I know they were young. That father was Jewish, and he was attacked and beaten down by anti-Semitic in front of the kids.
That's horrible.
And the worst, the person that attacked that guy was on bail because the liberal likes so much your bail law, like your Democrat in blue states.
I did say that the Jewish hate's the highest one.
Yeah.
But it said Muslims too. But, Oh, and then another thing that's crazy is like looking up your guys' I asked what's the highest crime in Canada, and it's like shoplifting, it's fraud, and then shoplifting, motor vehicles, exportation, and then it's child.
Yeah,
that's awful.
Speaking of that, I don't know if you heard about that story, but there was a nutcase that was also on bail. He broke into a house and he essayed a 3-year-old girl, and he deleted the dad.
What? Wait, say that again. What did you say?
He essayed a 3-year-old girl, infant.
Yeah.
And he deleted the dad.
Yeah.
Like,
that's horrible.
I remain user-friendly here. But that same person was on bail.
What? Really? That's awful. Why?
Because the liberal, they just let the criminal loose.
I don't understand. Okay, that's the worst of the worst, though. What are you? Okay, that's crazy.
It's like, oh yeah, you do shoplifting, then you're on bail and you can do whatever. Like,
yeah, I don't understand. Okay, yeah, but for that, that's like the worst crime ever.
We need to silence people speaking out.
No. It seems like everything that they talk about is like kind of distracting, but serious stuff. I don't get it.
Have crimes on the book that are not being enforced. People are charged and then the charges are dismissed. We need to uphold the rule of law. We need to
Now I gotta say, I will admit something. We are lucky because you guys got it worse than us. So as of right now, I know the UK has a majority. That's why things went down really fast, really bad. I don't know that much about Australia. I heard stuff. I don't know how accurate this is, but I think things are bad in Australia. Now, we are lucky because here in Canada, we had a liberal minority. So that means they don't have that much power. They still hold government because they got more seats. But we are lucky because we have a very strong opposition. So as of right now, we are lucky. But we are one majority away from going down the drain like you guys.
Yeah, he's been live with me on Noise's channel talking about like some of the stuff that Australia is going through. It's like, yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
we are lucky because I know the UK has currently a Labour majority, which is like the Liberal from the UK, and that's why it goes so wrong. But again, we are one majority away from like losing everything here in Canada. I swear, if the current Liberals we have right now in power get a majority, I think I will run far away. Like I think I will go in the States. I don't want to live under China da.
Hold the laws in the criminal code that are on this book that exist currently, rather than creating a fake law that makes people feel good, but that just allows the government to weaponize dissent.
She's dressed really nice, and I like the way she doesn't have like. There's a chicken on my government that wears expensive buttons and like has expensive clothes on, and it's too much to be in the. You look too much. You're doing too much for the government. She looks really nice. I like the way she's dressed. It's nice because there's like a few women in our government, my government, that's like too much. They're doing too much, like the crazy eyelashes and stuff. I forget what her name is. I bet you Dragon Man knows what her name is. But she likes to talk like she's ghetto. Why? You're in the government. You know what I'm talking about.
It depends on who we're talking about. U.S. or
U.S. and she wears a big button for Louis Vuitton. She's a black woman.
That's probably a liberal. That's why they don't have manners.
No, it depends which one. Maxine Waters or somebody else?
The black chick. I don't know.
Congrats, she just nailed down half the Democrats.
I know, and she just wears really too wild clothes. And then, she yelled at She got mad at the blonde chick and called her blonde and sticks up for AOC. She didn't really deserve her spot. I just know that's crazy. I just like how nicely dressed that woman was compared to what
you'll have to see. There's a whole thing. Even I have to do mine later today from our people. Now I joke, by the way, that Australia next to Australia. See, remember I was joking with Australia being the world's largest open air prison. They just elect their own wardens and prison guards.
Crazy.
I mean,
I'm sorry, Valkyria. I feel you. Like again, I will repeat myself. We are here in Canada, one majority away from losing everything. As long as we don't get the current Liberal majority, we are fine. But like again, they try so hard, so much to just like ruin everything that's democratic here.
No, they have progressed. See, the problem is it's not as liberals as much as it is progressives.
Yeah.
Australia has what is called, what I basically say, what is a conservative and what is a liberal. Progressive ideology rears its ugly head about every 70 years. Basically. The problem with Australia, jokingly, as I say, it's the world's largest open-air prison, is the idea is they technically, even though they model themselves more after what happens with the UK, they've always had more progressives than they have had liberals. Progressives operate on a different spectrum. Meaning progress, or they
are in a class of their own.
Basically, they went through the liberal parties. Like down there when I was doing the Online Safety Act stuff, they were the ones who were going to go beyond the Online Safety Act. They were going to say, you do not need to be on the social media unless you're 16.
Wow.
So you're going to basically have the idea of
just have good parents. You don't need the government to regulate that.
Idea is progressivism has been their leading problem, and then they just replace the wardens and the prison guards. I mean, the problem itself is you have a culture that your culture went largely secular, losing its religion while going left. Australia still has a traditional sense of family, but in the cities, they went more liberal with the progressive tendencies, which they were going the censoring what their children could play, like Resident Evil games or Silent Hill games get banned down there.
Wow!
Meanwhile, with the fact of, I've never introduced you to the crazy Australian couple I've dealt with. The ones that are, who is an outright, that's the thing, like Australia is a little bit different down the line. They follow more closer to UK than what happens with Canada. But then again, they were the ones adopting their own online safety act, going further. They were going to restrict all social media to almost everyone under 18.
Again, if you have the parent doing their job well, you don't need that kind of draconian control. I hate so much government like that.
Not all your government.
The honourable member for Repentigny. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
So that's the block now.
I'd like
The most
to
useless
return to the religious
split
exemption.
divide
The
party.
government
I just care about
showed some openness.
At least they
to
take away liberal
possibly
votes.
studying it if
God, at least they have some. They're more nationalist.
Here's what I would like
The problem
to know.
is you got globalists.
Do our
versus-
conservative colleague share our point of view? Do they agree that it's important that we debate this issue, which is currently ongoing in the streets of Quebec?
In Norfolk.
Mr. Speaker, I think it's important that when we're dealing with religious freedoms, that every issue should be on the table, and we should have the capacity to sit down and have meaningful discussions about things that we disagree on. And that is the essence of freedom of expression, that we should be able to have discussions from all over the country. And that is why the Attorney General's consent on the charges of hate speech is so important, because it allows geographical input from different provinces, which is channeled through the Attorney General. And that's why it's very egregious that this C9 would consider removal of the Attorney General's consent.
Resuming debate. Reprise du débat.
So again, draconian BS. Moving next, we will cover that last guy talking about
Thank you for
C9.
being with us today. C9 makes reference specifically with hate symbols to public spaces. Just to confirm, does that include the internet?
Generally speaking, the law will apply equally online as it does in real communities.
So this bill will affect what people can say and write on the internet?
Just in the limited circumstances where there is the willful promotion of hatred against
It will apply
someone.
to the internet. The internet is within the jurisdiction of...
It would be possible that someone could commit a hate crime on the internet, certainly.
Building off of Mr. Baber's points about the lower threshold for the definition of speech, there is, under this law, assuming Bill C9 passes, something that might not be legal to say today on the internet. Or it might be legal to say on the internet, could actually be illegal in the future under C9, could it not?
No, that's entirely inaccurate, and I say that with no judgment to your perspective, but let me explain. The only circumstance where you could imagine some online comment attracting scrutiny under this law would attach to behavior that is criminal today, but would be punished less severely. The symbols piece that you pointed to, for example, is attached only to the willful promotion of hate. This is not a blanket symbols ban. The willful promotion of hate
That's gaslight and lies.
Sorry,
Sorry, but it's so broad and vague. Yes, it is. So that piece of garbage is just gaslighting the viewer.
I wouldn't say, here's the thing. Okay, hypothetically, how many years do you think in the U.S. it took Antifa? So Antifa years ago first popped up around Portland and Seattle, burning down a campus lunchroom, which I love to find the original story. I remember it on Fox News, and I used to keep track of it. But it was at a local, like University of Portland, or like one of up there. And then they went to an organized looting thing. This was at least 17 or 18, somewhere around in there. And then they went to looting stuff and destroying stuff during the Summer of Love in 2020 under Black Lives Matter rallies. Now it's taking a couple of years. I mean, they've been radical for a while. They've been linked to it. But the idea is, now, worst case scenario, it's who's extremist. Now, do I think somebody, hypothetically, just because they put a Kekistan flag or a Doge symbol, there's actually people on the left that truly believe Kekistan flags or Pepe the Frog is actually a hate symbol. They actually believe that. That's largely 4chan's doing. But, I mean, now, if I take him at face value, let's assume you have an organization or a person that's going to commit a crime. They have racist symbols or symbols that are derogatory towards their group. They prosecute the man or woman. And then they find that that was a symbol of hate. They try to apply that to that case. That's probably what he's talking about. Now, the idea, but in a broad sense, let's assume you have another trucker protest style. Mass protest.
Jail them all.
They search the person's computer. They find, oh, you have a closed fist or something. That might be a symbol of hate. Then they drag the person through court for
Life in prison.
However long.
Life in prison.
But you get what I'm saying, Multi. Like,
yeah.
There's an idea in the side that you're re-clarifying it, that it can be used. Let's say, hypothetically, you come across a Muslim terrorist cell that's going to burn down a mosque, synagogues and churches. They want to throw those people away in prison. They don't want them to get light sentences. Then they find, which would be hate propaganda on whatever they have. Now, I don't think anyone would have a problem with that, because clearly that's just so you could probably throw away the key. Now, would they attribute it to hate crimes? I don't know. But
Miss Markle, you missed the ultimate gaslight and lies.
Oh, I did.
The guy did pretend the law would not be as broad and vague as it is, just to make
but
it
it's
not
worded.
look as
It's
bad.
worded very.
I just read it. I read your guys' thing. It's not even that big, long. It's like very small. It's like 2 or 3 pages.
C8 and C9 are both like long. C2
the one I just read wasn't very long.
also-
I just clicked it. I just read it. It wasn't really long.
Well, did you click on the official link of Parliament, or did you?
Yeah, it was the Parliament. Yeah, okay, hold on. I'll show you.
Because the Parliament is far more than that. I think it's
Okay.
like 100 page.
Yeah, okay, so click Parliament. Is it the Parliament? Oh, is it? Okay, so. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, oh, no, I'm right. Look at that. That's it. See, okay, whoops. I don't know if you guys can see it here. I'm actually to blur.
C9 is
Canada
shorter.
Bill C9. Bill.
Okay, so let me turn off the blur because it's being stupid. It's blurring it out. My room's a mess. Don't you dare judge. Okay?
That's fine. Mine is worse. That's why it's always blurry.
Okay, so here. See the C? It says. Can you guys see it? It says C9. You guys can't see it at all, can you?
I can't.
No. Okay.
So I will send the link here.
Okay, it says Parliament Bill C9, and then it says.
Click on the link I sent in the private chat so you see it.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, that could be interesting for chat to see how draconian this bullshit is.
I could always just presented it a long time ago.
Thought we would see panties. Shut your face.
Sorry for the disappointment, Valkyria.
You guys, I don't really have panties. I really don't wear that many panties. Ask that drag man. He's said I'm weird, so I really don't wear very many pants.
That's fine. That's fine. So in the meantime, while she reads the draconian China-like laws, we will play more of that.
Distinct charge where that same behavior uses certain symbols of hate to bring a higher degree of culpability. So there is no new human behavior that would attract the scrutiny.
I understand, but I'm building off of the discussion earlier on the definition. Is your view that the change in wording, and there was a change in wording, you made a deliberate decision to change the definition that was spelled out in Keekstra and reaffirmed in Watcott. Is your view that your definition in C9 will not capture anything beyond what is currently captured right now by the hate definition?
The definition was an attempt to codify, and the reason that there was a...
This is a yes or no question, Minister. Is there at all a lower threshold or a broader net on hate in Canada after?
Yes, but a liberal cannot properly answer question because they will look bad. Because they know they are on the wrong side of history. But hey, let's die on that hill.
So, I'm hungry. Do you mind, like, if I eat, I can mute my mic so you guys have to hear it?
That's fine.
Okay, I'll just show my...
If it passes.
My view on the definition question, because the offenses I would give a different answer to you for, but on the definition, my view is that it codifies the same behavior that is there today, and it was meant to provide clearer guidance to law enforcement in the criminal code to apply the existing standard that has been recognized by the Supreme Court.
Because the same arguments that are being used by you and your government to push Bill C9 to protect people against hate, which on the surface sounds incredibly noble, but these arguments are the same arguments that have led to the United Kingdom having police literally knocking on people's doors over their tweets. So what guarantee can you give Canadians that we are not headed down that very road, especially in the context of other priority areas identified by you and your government, such as the Online Harms Act, which was introduced twice, actually, in the last two parliaments?
This legislation is not identical in kind to the reforms that have been put.
No, it's worse because now you can have freaky life in prison for what
That's
you say.
the guy I think that I thought that you did for like Sean Fraser.
That's
the one. That's why I got a few views with him.
That guy is the one that deserves to be in jail for life and throw the key.
Yeah. That's who I got the other guy confused with was him. Yeah.
That guy burned Vancouver when he was mayor, and now he's burning our justice system by pretending the freaking attorney general is useless.
What's up with this white patch of hair? Or is that a bald spot? What's going on?
I don't know, but send him to jail so he can taste his own medicine.
Yeah.
Place in the UK, and we've actually looked at their experience and see that there are real challenges.
And we like it, but we won't say it out loud.
For example, we've got a different approach where some jurisdictions around the world have adopted a more blanket glorification that could attract the scrutiny of a liking a Facebook post, for example, and we chose a different path. We
are even more draconian than the other
places.
places.
Interfere with the charter rights of Canadians to freely
Yes,
express
they do
themselves,
interfere.
but at the same time, make it easier to lay charges where hate crimes are committed today.
It's funny how in the same sentence it says they don't affect the charge of right, but they also make it easier to charge someone. It just doesn't work in the same sentence. There's cognitive dissonance. If whoever voted that guy in sees that clip, I will ask that person, are you will you vote for that guy again after you have seen that?
Also, who makes the rules on what's considered hate speech or not?
Him.
I mean, honestly, it's a double-edged sword.
And by the way, that same guy, he was in charge of immigration.
Mm-hmm.
He roomed that file. He was in charge of housing. He also roomed that file.
He did. Okay.
It's like falling upward. Each case he took on, he failed.
That you think there is a better way to clarify and codify the existing definition. Do know that I believe in Parliament, and I don't care which party comes forward with these amendments.
But they need to support us because we are in charge.
I think it's a bald spot. Bother no. I can't stop looking at it. I can't stop
If
looking
it
at
creates
it.
multi-partisan buy-in to codify the test, that's okay by me.
Can you guarantee that if C9 passes, no Canadian will end up being charged because of something they've posted on Twitter or Facebook?
I'm wondering what happens if Ed, as he's arguing this, is he like, oh, am I keeping my cool here? Oh, I don't rip off that guy's head. As well, we are seeing a push for Islam. That's fine. I mean, chat is there for opinion. We are not
it's nice to have you there.
Yeah. I like it. I like it. But Andrew Lawton in his head, he's like, oh, am I speaking to someone so tone deaf and that lies so much and gaslights so much? I'm impressed by Andrew like self-control there. I don't know what I would do if I was wearing his shoes.
The question's ultimately how far down post and in-game liberalism are you? Because if you're already at the point you're at secularism and maybe and only in certain parts. Because here's one thing. Islam, at least the Sikhs, whether they're Sikhs or they're actually traditional Islamists to a degree, are always going to multiply and be very faithful, very loud. Indians have their own faith. They're going to be that same way. Christians, if you're already a minority, let's hell, even in the wake of Charlie Kirk getting shot, we still have a large amount of secularism and atheism in the United States. It's brought some people back to church, but not much. In Canada, if Christians and Jews were already being targeted, they're going to be, quote unquote, low down the totem pole. Now, the problem is, if a lot of these pass, it opens the door to kick that down more. Because bear in mind, there's people who think calling someone retarded is equal to calling them the N-word. There are people like that. There literally are, because that's how far the word police has come. Just the idea you can basically play around with the language. Oh, you can't call someone autistic anymore. That's going to be, that's why you'll see the people. And granted, you do not know what's a crime or hate speech 5 years down the line. Because if you told people in the UK, just because you said something about things, and I mean, there's stories about where, like the 2 female cops that showed up to the teenage girl's house, that was kind of a fake story because they came to question her because she said multiple different things. And I've seen the actual story, so that's not a real one. As much as they were following up, because she said other things, and then she also lied about being underage on an app, dating app.
Yeah.
So you have other stories over there that are more legit, where they'll say, oh, I don't like all these immigrants or whatever else. And they have pulled up to resident homes questioning 70-year-olds. Now, that's not all of the UK.
An old woman went to jail. I don't remember where, but do you remember an old woman?
Well, there's always a few, because there's also a 2-tier justice system there.
Just like us, like you won't believe it, but like if a foreigner, like if an immigrant does a crime, they will just release him and not charge him because that would impact his visa, and he wouldn't be staying.
So the thing
I look at your face, Miss Sparkle. It's good, but it's true. It's so nasty we are here.
So the thing is, I know Multi doesn't probably cover this stuff, but I know what it is. So there's this thing like, okay, did you hear about the synagogue? Did you two hear about the synagogue attack
in the UK about a week or two ago?
No, because they don't want to speak about it.
So, well, the thing about it is, the guy was an Islamic person on release for an essay crime, as well as another crime, a hate crime, and his name translates actually to jihad. And then he wound up, when he was released,
I
go
thought we
attack
were
that
jungle, but the UK has it worse.
And then he, on his release, being released after being charged with these other crimes, already accused of extremism, decides to go attack the synagogue. Then he winds up dying. Which, I mean, that sounds like a meme story, but that
Just like my
actually
story of
happened.
foreigner getting life sentence so it doesn't impact their visa.
I'm not telling you. There's a whole two-tier justice system over there. There's stories of basically Indians and Islamic people being charged with running rings.
Oh, I got another story to the both of you. That one is I was shocked when I heard about it, but the guy was Indian. He hit someone with a truck. He fled country to meet his family, and when he came back, he had house arrest.
He had what? He had what? He had what?
We had an Indian guy. He hit someone. He deleted someone with his truck, and he fled. He left to go see his family outside of the country.
Yeah.
And when he came back, because he was like, you know what, I want to come back. He got house arrest.
Oh, house arrest. Okay, I thought you said he got arthritis. I don't know why. That's what I heard.
House arrest.
House arrest? After he started the car leaving.
And then someone life and
He
fleeing.
did a hit and run.
Yeah, he did a hit and run that cost someone life, and he gets house arrest.
Oh, well, the guy who plays in Risky Business killed a mom and her adult daughter with this car, and he got nothing. So I guess that's pretty normal. I guess.
House arrest. You deleted someone, you fled the country, and when you come back, they let you in again to do house arrest.
He shouldn't be allowed back.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing to it is that two-tier justice system, because what's funny is they'll then say, UK citizen, they have so many people, they're like either Indians or Pakistanis, amongst the others, being charged with running entire essay and other rings like this. And then, but they go after, there was like a story, a mother, they were going to throw her in prison for like a series of Facebook posts. And meanwhile, there's people who are legit PDFs and running rings. And they're just walking around. And it's like, and this is what's, you wonder why the UK is starting. The good news is the UK, the people, like there was the 100,000 plus people who showed up around those others. Even the people who support Starmer were like, they were like, oh, we felt threatened, like they were going to crush us. No, only
Labor
like
is
15,
done.
20,000 showed up, and the rest of that
Lord, Labor are done because
Done.
they
Oh,
did so many bad crap. In the next election, they will kick Starmer out. I'm telling
don't
you.
say that.
If there's an election, actually.
No, don't. I'm just going to say, don't hold
that's
out.
unlimited.
Here's the thing. You can say this, but you still got to put forth candidates. That's the thing.
Well, if they commit the crime of willfully promoting hatred against a
Willfully
another
promoting
person,
hatred.
then-
Sorry to
With the
touch that.
definition that you're changing.
I'm going to willfully promote hatred.
It's possible that they could be convicted for what they willfully promoting hate online today.
Prison for life.
Said it again.
Certainly, I would
Willfully
hope
promote
if someone
hatred.
commits a
I'll
crime
throw
in the
the
real
your
world
ass.
or online, that they would face the appropriate criminal penalty if, in fact, it's captured by the code.
We had in my riding a very disturbing case a few weeks ago where someone had mowed a swastika, a Hakenkreuz, I should say, into their lawn, and was charged under the existing criminal code definition. They displayed a symbol. It was found to be willfully promoting hate. Law enforcement and the Crown agreed that they could lay that charge. So why is your bill at all necessary when we already have existing powers, which, to Mr. Housefather's point earlier, are simply not being enforced as often as they could be?
This is an important question. I'll answer it very quickly. When you have the willful promotion of hate, the person who's convicted of that could still be convicted,
You
but
know how to
also
have
of
fun?
a second charge.
You're just
The willful
judgmental.
promotion of hate using hate symbols, which would attract
I mean, who's
a
gonna
greater
see
degree of culpability and potentially a greater
Airplane.
penalty.
I know, why did he
recognizing
mow
the
into
use
his
of
lawn?
hate
What was the reason
symbols,
behind it? You're right.
when you're willfully promoting
Maybe he was trying to make a
cause greater
statement,
damage
you know what I
to
mean?
the individual and the
No,
entire
no, he's trying to do
community. So I don't
Nazca
find these
lines
points to
in
be
his
inconsistent
yard.
with one another, but instead that behavior could potentially face an
How did they
additional charge
see
with
it?
a more serious penalty because of the manner in which a person chose to promote hate to cause more damage to an affected community.
I'm sorry. What
I
is
just
it?
don't see how a swastika mowed in your yard's really going to do much damage to anybody, to be honest. I'm sorry.
It's Canada.
Okay. Hey, who's really
We
seeing it, though?
let someone that ended and fled the scene coming back. It's Canada.
So did someone fly by, see it, and then report it? Is that what happened? I'm confused on what happened. How'd they even know?
I have to look the story.
That's a neighbor that was seeing it.
Hello and welcome to
Yeah,
Runkle
look
Debate.
it up.
My name is Ian Runkle.
Who's that?
So, that's the final one, C8. This is dystopian bullcrap, just like what we had with C9. Let's get into it.
I'm a Canadian criminal defense and firearms lawyer.
He's
A lot of people have been asking me about Bill C8 because they've been seeing TikToks and other videos claiming that this bill allows you to be kicked off the internet by ministerial order. So the government can just say, get this person off the internet. And so people have been asking me, can this really happen? Is that really in the bill? And the short answer is yes. And the longer answer is, let's have a look at the bill.
Let's go.
So this is here in the bill. It's 15.2 sub 1. If there are reasonable grounds to believe that it is necessary to do so to secure the Canadian telecommunications system against any threat, including that of interference, manipulation, disruption, or degradation, the minister may, by order and after consultation with the Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Preparedness, and with the persons the minister considers appropriate, prohibit a telecommunications service provider from providing any service to any specified person, including a telecommunications service provider, or direct them to suspend providing a
TV
service
partners won't be
for a
allowed there, huh?
specified period.
That's why he needed to read the document.
I was reading it.
Then again, I usually read documents, so
I was. I'm a attitude. I was reading the document.
no. The thing is, I mean, one is bigger than the other.
What is bigger than the other?
This guy actually.
The one I just looked at, it wasn't that big. I just looked at the one.
No,
the link. It's
the
not that
other
big.
one's bigger.
Look at me. It's me.
No, this is basically part of it, but like he's going over one section.
Mhm.
But there is so C8 is a whole bill, C9 is an amendment, and C2 is a different.
Okay.
So again, this is just, to be honest, legal definitions are.
Look at my shirt. It's Kiwi Farms. It's cute. I love it. You see it?
Just remember in the future when you're posting Kekistan flags and Pepe the Frogs and Doge's symbols, you might be hate symbols.
Who's posting that shit though?
That would be that'd go over Multi's head.
But who's posting
any
that?
specified person.
Steam people on Steam.
So that basically means
Never
that
seen
they
a hate
can
symbol
tell
as
the
a Steam
ISP
before.
to stop providing you services, and so suddenly you don't have
Actually,
access
this
to
is
the internet
scary,
anymore.
by the way.
Now you might be wondering, wait, what is this bill for? Well, there are some useful.
So basically,
No shit, it's scary. I told you we entered dystopian reality.
I don't know where no shit. It's scary. I know it is. It is.
So the thing about this is, can you?
Can you dig it?
So here's the problem.
They don't even need a warrant to do it.
Well, if
That's
you
the
have a
most
warrant,
ridiculous thing.
Goodness gracious, yeah.
well, they've
Because
already
usually
okay.
when you have a warrant, you can do a lot of things. But again,
You get a lot of false reporting. I'm looking at that. I wonder if there's a lot of false reporting.
Well, that's part of this.
That makes like a paper trail. A warrant is to make sure there's no abuse of power. So now you just say, you know what, you don't need that anymore. Like, oh, you have that guy, he's your political enemy. He has like a YouTube platform. You know what? Let's tell his provider. Let's just shut up the internet and the phone service, and the internet and phone service company. They are not even authorized to let the consumer know. You know what? You were blacklisted.
Oh my goodness, really? That's sucking. What?
That's I don't know if he got into that, but this is how crazy.
No,
that
it's later
gets.
on. And there's also a thing that's going to be in the law.
Mhm.
If you call and they don't, and it's proven false, you have no recourse.
I almost got blacklisted from Comcast Internet for using LimeWire, though.
I
That's
don't
internet.
even know that. What's
It's
that?
internet. LimeWire is where you download videos illegally. It's not, I don't think it's even around anymore. I keep dragging my
Oh,
Yeah, there's other forms of it.
It's like a what's the other
Yeah,
one?
I know now. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, but there's the other
they were
part
gonna
to this
sue
is
me and then take me and then ban me from the internet. Yeah, it's crazy.
no, but there's also a part in the bill. They said if the government is found in malpractice, you do not have any legal recourse. But no, a little background on this guy. This guy he hangs around with Viva Frey, as well as occasionally in the law tube. That's why I know who this guy is.
Yeah. So that goes into censorship.
Things in the bill. There are some
guys don't wait.
laudable purposes,
You guys don't.
and one of the
You guys do not. I don't know what word to use. Put down how many false reports you get for crimes. You guys don't.
To be honest, I don't really know.
I asked Copilot, and it says Canada does not publish Pacific national rates of false crime reporting. But you guys do for other things, but not for that.
Don't trust AI. I mean, did you know our FBI calls Asians white people?
Yeah, I know that. You told me that. Yeah, I know that. Yeah, you told me
Did
that.
you know they
You
call
can
white
see-
Hispanics white people?
Yes, I know that.
see that this is really aimed around, in theory, trying to preserve the integrity of the networks. And so, for example, we see under subsection 2 here, prohibit a telecommunications service provider from using any specified product or service in or in relation to its telecommunications network or telecommunications facilities or in any part of those networks or facilities. So this is basically the idea of if, for instance, some sort of network switch or something like that turns out to be compromised by some foreign government, and maybe it's got a kill switch in it, maybe it's got a listening device, something like that.
Nothing. How did your walk go? Your thing for you're going in. What are you going to go do for your? I need to write.
It's lagging. The dragon. Do you know what's going on with that?
Not my end.
Hey, it's I don't. He's not talking. It's lagging. Yeah.
Oh, I think I know what happened.
What
You
happened?
did it.
Don't think
They know. The government knows. They're taking us down. It's your government. They know.
No.
They
hate
want to
these glasses.
silence me.
I fell and I broke my glasses. I fell. It's really. I'm gonna die from falling. Watch. So now I have these crappy.
Ignore it.
Do you like my picture? It's review tech.
Yeah. Cool picture.
Hold on. I'll present.
Review tech naked. Woo.
Rule is don't.
Use your words.
Yeah, don't be trying.
You have the power of language.
Do not. Basically, in the process, I removed the wrong.
Oh, don't tell me you deleted it.
It's not deleted.
Okay.
After my husband blew up, my friend convinced me to go to a Cougars club and it changed my whole life. Why am I getting these articles recommended to me? I don't understand. Okay. Bad white best friend. And that just proves the multi right about the women in marriage thing.
I mean,
What happened? You broke it.
And break it. There it is. Okay. Thank you. No, it just gets put. Look, I'm not that. Like, if I had more advanced settings on a computer, I don't automatically delete. That'd be bad. I deleted the wrong one.
Hello, and welcome to Runkle of the Bailey. My name is Ian Runkle. I'm a Canadian. Wait, after 90 days, unless the minister directs otherwise in the order. Reasonable to kick me off the internet entirely. But this part we've identified it's bad. Everybody's got to remove that from their networks. Okay, I can see why they might include that. But the power to aim this at a specific person, which of course can include a company, but can include an individual as well, is a bit of a problem, especially because while there are some limits built into it, the first limit you see here is the limit noting reasonable grounds to believe that it is necessary to do so. That's sort of a limit that you might take to a court and say, whoa, that was not the case. This
Give me a
is
warrant,
imposed
please.
improperly.
But not here.
There's another one here, and we'll see.
Yeah, these
unfortunately, these
built-in
limits are themselves limited in a way that prevents them from necessarily being useful to you. So the other limit here, scope and substance. The provisions of an order made under subsection 1 or 2 must, in scope and substance, be reasonable in relation to the gravity of the threat, including that of interference, manipulation, disruption, or degradation. So that's another thing you could take to the court and say, listen, it was not reasonable to kick me off the internet entirely. But here's where we get into a problem. They have the provision, or they have the ability to impose a non-disclosure order. An order made under subsection 1 or 2 may also include a provision prohibiting the disclosure of its existence or some or all of its contents by any person. Now, there are provisions requiring them to publish the order after 90 days, unless the minister directs otherwise in the order. So they'd have to publish the order, and you could find out that way, unless they feel like they don't want to do it. So that's not super helpful. Here's the scenario I want you to sort of envision. You go to a protest, and it doesn't really matter what the protest is about. You know, you could want to save the ostriches. You could be concerned about wars overseas. You don't like nuclear power. Whatever it is you're protesting. You're there, you're protesting. And on the way home from the protest, as you're leaving, you get pulled over by a police officer. Maybe they've got a checkpoint or something. And they check your ID. You're thinking, oh, if they're going to write me a ticket, am I going to get arrested? But nope, they wave you on. They say, have a nice day. And off you go. And then you get home and you're thinking, man, I've had a long day. You know, I've been shouting. I've been holding a sign up. I think I want to log on and check out some cute cat pictures. That'll help me relax. And so you get on your computer and it says no internet connection.
Oh, okay.
And you go,
So this would be really bad if you're
that's interesting. And you call your internet service provider and you say, hey,
joke only I get.
Why don't I have any internet?
And this is what if you can call, because guess what? If they cut off your phone line as well, because that law can do such thing, what do?
You dance.
The actual situation he described, going to an activist protest, protesting energy, first person who comes to mind is Greta Thunberg.
Internet down, and they say, oh, well, we've decided that you are no longer a customer of ours. Thank you for your previous business, but we are not going to provide you with internet anymore. Bye. So you're going, wait, what?
But
you're wondering, did I do something wrong? Did I, download too many things or whatever? But you decide, okay, well, it's not the end of the world. There's other internet service providers. So you call up another ISP and you say, hey, can I get some service? And they say, no. And you think, weird. Why can't I get service? And they say, none of your business. This is a decision we're making on our own. And what you don't realize here is that they are not offering you service because they've been ordered by the government not to, but also ordered by the government not to tell you why. So,
damn, why? How are you supposed to fix it then? What the hell?
And I'll add this. Within the Charter of Rights, we have rights, you know? We have rights. We cannot discriminate someone. We cannot decline service to someone.
How many internet providers do you guys have? So would that count for every internet provider?
Yes, it would.
Wow.
And this is what he's trying to hammer home. And I mentioned the Charter of Rights because this is the liberal that bring up that BS, and they pretend to be the party of the Charter of Rights, yet that bill goes against the Charter of Rights because now the providers are forced into discriminating people for their belief. And within the Charter of Rights, you cannot do that. It's illegal. It's a crime. But yeah, that bill, that fascist bill, that disgusting insult to the Charter of Rights is put forward by the so-called liberals. Right?
They won't say it's an order here that you can challenge. They'll just say, sorry, tough luck. And then your cell phone cuts out because that's also a telecommunication service. So is your landline. So now you've got no real ability to communicate.
Yeah.
And so how do you challenge this at this point? Because you don't actually know the order exists. And so how are you going to go and challenge the order? You're going to go hire a lawyer and say, something weird is happening. Please help. What are they going to do for you?
They can't do anything.
First, the first hurdle for challenging the order is...
And that goes back to a warrant is important because that warrant is a paper trail. And if you are having trouble with something and there's a warrant in the case, then your lawyer can say, give me that warrant. I want to see what's going on. Okay, this is what's going on. This is what we can do to fight it off. So,
okay, yeah.
Again, them just not needing a warrant is ridiculous.
Let me say something real fast. Lilith is from Austria. Lilith, we're talking about that Canada wants to make stricter laws against hate speech, right?
Yeah, right? Freedom of expression, freedom of speech. They want to turn us into China with freaking snow 6 months a year.
I know that it's really stripped over where she's from, and she has the issue. They're like having a lot of like immigrants are taking Muslim immigrants are taking over basically, and she was in a class with her mom's a teacher, and the class had nobody that could speak the language except for one. Yeah.
Yeah, Canada is cooked. You're right. Well, actually, we are in the kitchen right now. It's getting eating up, but we are lucky. We are not the UK yet. We are not Australia yet, apparently. I say that because the current government is a minority government. That means they have limited power, which is great. Hopefully, finger crossed, we kick them out. Hopefully, finger crossed, they are so much hated, they will lose lots of seats and MPs, so we can clean house with them. F the liberals. UK, it's bad. I'm glad I'm not there. But if the current liberals ever get a majority here in Canada, I go to the States. I don't care.
Oh, I'll visit you.
I will escape to the land of the free. Because Canada will no longer be the land of the free if we get a reign with the...
Sorry, what?
But you can't find your black women that you like so much, sure. You get American black women. I don't know if you can handle American black women.
As I see, it's the government, it's traders. Yes, so it's the current government that tried to push for bills that add censorship and draconian measure against the people.
I mean, if you believe our liberals in the U.S., They tell us you have the best health care. We need socialized medicine.
Until you hear about someone dying in the air because
it's okay. I mean,
in wrong and have to do it over again and then write in the notes that my hand's healing just fine. Yeah, no.
No, it's okay. It's,
you're right, Lilith. So we can go on and on about stories of like dads. Like we had a dad that got beat up. He was a Jewish. He got beat up in front of his kids in the streets. We got another dad that was ended by a person that essayed his daughter just before.
Horrible. That's horrible.
And that's a 3-year-old daughter. So we have that kind of criminals rampant in
put on house
freaking
arrest,
Canada.
right? Well,
Yeah.
no, he
He was on bail. So
bail, yeah.
I
He
guess
got
we'll
bail,
get
maybe,
another bail.
Mhm.
The Alceris guy was like a guy that did a hit and run and deleted someone
Oh,
in
yeah,
the
okay, yeah.
process. And the guy left the country because he's Indian, and he decided to come back because he missed Canada. And instead of getting sent back to India like we should, he got house arrest because he ended someone's life.
God.
This is what we are doing here in Canada. So if you're an immigrant, you can do whatever you want. There's no
Well, I think I know that story, yeah, because I think I watched it on a mostly peaceful puppets. Have you checked that channel? I check that channel. So like, I think I know about the Canadian story. Yeah.
All in West is like that many.
Decriminalization, right?
Makes
the
me
problem is decriminalization is different.
There's a little bit of a communication. She has a hard time typing out because she knows German and English. So if you have a hard time
that's
understanding.
amazing. I like it.
So basically, the idea of decriminalization and lessening punishments, so you have a higher tolerance. And the problem is, if you do have that two-tier system, yeah, you have more of a tolerance for people who have crimes or people. That's why I say. That's why I say that's like saying weighing a crime. Now, how do you get for if it was actual murder or manslaughter, and you get house arrest for a year? I mean, okay, that just sounds weird. Over here, you'll still
I'll go murder someone for fun if that's what happens there. Yeah, let's go.
Well, you're American and they hate Americans, so maybe that's a bad idea.
I'm sorry. Why can't you? You gave us Justin Bieber.
Maybe say you're trans. If you say you're trans, maybe you will get away with it.
I should be
No,
trans.
don't say that.
That
I mean, you
exists,
know how many people try
then
to
it doesn't
plead
matter
against
how many reasonable and limits that they put in there, because you won't be able to actually get that in front of a court. The other thing is that even if you do get it in front of a court, well, the best you could do is actually get an order saying that your internet comes back, but you would not be entitled to money, because they note here no compensation. No one is entitled to any compensation from His Majesty in right of Canada for any financial losses resulting from the making of an order under subsection 1 or 2. So you might not have the ability to make money, because that might require being on the internet. For lots of us that does.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how much money you're out, they don't have to pay
It's
you.
Canadian too.
What? Yeah, he is.
I can tell because you guys say out the cutest way. You guys say about and out just the cutest way. So when he said out, I was like, I do it.
And I will mention something else. We always say China, Canada, you know. But the more I think about it, Russia is the exact same. And they have freaking snow there. So you know what? We keep calling us China. We can also call us Russia.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
They can just go.
Going the online gulag, folks.
They do have to also consider some factors. But you'll note here that these factors are not super helpful for you if you're targeted. Before making an order under subsection 1 or 2, they must consider A, its operational impact on the affected telecommunication service providers, i.e., is it going to bother the ISP much to cut you off? And the answer to that is probably no. B, its financial impact on the affected telecommunication service provider. I don't care if you have the most gold-plated service tier. You know, even if you're paying $5,000 a month for, you know, some sort of dedicated, you know, whatever line,
Yeah.
that's kind of a rounding error on the budgets of most telecommunication service providers. So, yeah, that's not going to matter. C, its effect on the provision of telecommunication services in Canada, which won't be anything. And in fact, this might weigh towards them requiring non-disclosure. Hey, people might be skeptical of their ISPs if they know that they can be kicked off by ministerial order, so we'll just make sure no one can know by prohibiting the disclosure. Or D,
Crazy.
any other factor that the minister considers relevant, and the impact on...
Any factor. You know what? You're a journalist that said the Liberal Party suck. Let's kick you off.
That's
It's a
awful.
valid ground.
It's to control you guys. I swear, it's all about control.
Yeah.
Control you guys. Yeah. They're turning
you
into China.
specifically, they don't need to consider relevant. There's nothing that requires them to consider that.
And no warrant.
So, is this of concern? Well, maybe. And the thing where I say maybe it's of concern basically comes down to this. If the government is only using it where it's necessary to do so against a threat of interference, manipulation, disruption, or degradation of the telecommunication services, it will almost never be the case that an individual person meets that standard. Because, you know, let's imagine that you are Joe Hackerman and you
Joe
are
Hackerman.
somehow a threat to telecommunication systems if you're able to get on a computer. Well, the best way to deal with that if it's a specific person is you just go and like arrest that dude. That's the solution. I mean, assuming he's committed some
That
sort
sucks.
of crime, like
Mhm.
interfering with the telecommunication systems, or even taking steps to get ready to interfere with the telecommunication systems. But the problem is that governments don't always use their powers.
I must add something else, Lilith. They are trying C2, which is another draconian BS where they can undown your information on the internet to protect the borders, right? The borders. We need to protect the borders through the internet. And
Sorry, that's stupid.
and you know what they're doing? They do it without a freaking warrant. So even if you wear a mask, they're like, "Who's that guy?" And
How
they will
easy
find
is it
out
to get
about their
a warrant
identity fast.
Are warrants easy to get there? Like
What?
Are warrants easy to get? Charge people with crime? Like warrants easy to get? How hard are your warrants to get? I know it's a little bit difficult to get a warrant here.
Well, what you need to do is you have burden of, you need the like solid ground where you think someone does something wrong, and you need to be able to explain well what. For example, I heard someone streaming, or a lot of people told me that person is sus, and I would like to know more. And now you go before the judge. The judge hear your story, and it's up to the judge to give you the warrant or not. And again, you need solid ground. You cannot say, "Oh yeah, just give me the warrant." It doesn't work like that. You need solid ground. Like, I heard streaming, I heard lots of rumors, and I am to believe that maybe these rumors are right. So let me investigate and get that warrant.
Yeah. Okay, well that's good. But aren't you guys still having issues with like people getting like still in trouble for like that stuff? Like, what do you have to do? You have to prove that someone's talking crap to you, and it's hate speech.
This is more complicated.
Okay.
It's another area where it's more testimonies than anything else when it comes to hate speech. But the big issue with no need of a warrant is there's no paper trail, and people do whatever, and that's kind of bad in a democracy when they can do whatever. like the warrant is to make sure there's no abuse of power.
Is that working good?
Yeah.
As of right now, yes,
between
but
the,
it's
trucker
working good.
protest?
That's why they want to take out that need of a warrant because it works too well.
How do you explain all the bullshit that happened to all the truckers? They
Yeah.
literally that you're talking about a prior situation.
But the trucker is a bit different. It's the Emergency Act, and even there, it was unlawful and it was really bad. And
It wasn't unlawful because the court your Supreme Court upheld it.
they said it wasn't constitutional. They said it wasn't they still did it, but they looked back and they said that there was abuse of
Still
power.
to this day, a majority of them got debanked. And this is a problem when you go a cashless society. Like, I know an Arch and them in your parts of Europe already support quote cashless societies, meaning you're using mainly cards or you're not using actual cash. So let's assume they even seized their digital currency as well as their cryptocurrency or blocked it. Now, in reality, this was pre all this, and Trudeau wanted them moved and deemed them all whatever. Yes, it was done under the Emergencies Act, but it was also said that use of the Emergencies Act was upheld. And after that, everyone said they could modify that rule to go after anyone.
But again, because it wasn't used right.
Because at the end of the day, listen.
I hear someone. But so what happened? Because we keep speaking about the trucker, they just got their sentencing this week, so I will address them. So, what happened? They did some jail time after that, and they were waiting for their trial, and their trial happened in April, I believe, or May. I think it was May. And what happened? The Crown wanted to sue them for prison time. They wanted to chase after them and send them in jail for 7 to 8 years in jail. And what happened is because of that Emergency Act that was deemed unlawful and the time they already spent in jail, the sentencing ended up being much smaller, which is a great thing because that means we can still protest without spending life in prison or whatever. But still, so the fact that they didn't use the Emergency Act helped in this case on having a lighter sentence than the 7 to 8 years the Crown wanted to give them.
So they got time served?
Yeah, so now...
Because some of them were still in prison.
Now, yeah, that's what I'm telling you. Now their sentence was reduced to house arrest for a year, I believe, and a year and a half. So their sentence got reduced a lot, and they ended up not making the 7 to 8 years. That was outrageous. Okay. People often say that so casually, but this is the goal. You will own nothing, and you will like it. You will work and sleep and eat the bugs. Yeah, that's the socialist mental.
Omitted, definitely downplayed.
I hear someone. I don't
No,
know.
my TV. Sorry, sorry. I apologize. I paused it. Sorry.
But
my
again,
favorite clip from Ethan Ralph is when he's yelling about Lawrence Southern, and he's like, "She tried to get me to eat the bugs." Yeah, that's one of my favorite quotes.
then it's easy government controlled if you have funds and not a social point system like China wants to. The UK also wants that crap.
No, there's a
their
difference
digital
between
ID.
World Economic Forum and the Belt and Road Initiative.
All of these people from the West, they belong in jail and throw away the key.
Economic Forum the idea, okay. Realistically, you can't control a society that is too large. You need a manageable population.
Yeah, that's what she said.
It's actually the theory.
That's what she said.
The theory now, if you go off the Chinese, and the only reason the main World Economic Forum and the IMF work, because you can get a country on debt and you can actually control them through the flow of money, is the Belt and Road Initiative that was done by China. Was because they basically go to Africa or other areas that have resources, use that, and then they take it back home. That's why they've been going to South America. They've been going there to Africa.
We got the Chinese that launder some money by buying buildings in Vancouver.
I mean, that's always a thing. They come over.
You're laughing, but that's really happening. They want to escape this.
You have to laugh. It's so bad. You have to.
No, the thing about it is, for real, like, the idea is when they do, like, they have, I mean, there's a whole thing with their economy.
China.
You look
China.
Actually, their economy has been propped up.
Yeah, I know. I can't.
Largely on basically what is like a.
And by Canada, because we keep sending them billion for thanking them for interfering with our.
The thing about they need resources. But there's also this whole thing of loans, and there's actually money over them.
What's that? You drinking? You drunk? You kicked your cans over? How dare you?
How dare me? We can't.
No, but there's the idea
Only
of it.
for the things that they're supposed to be used for. Governments abuse their powers, and this
We have
is a
seen
power
it.
that is highly abusable. You know, imagine in the middle of an election, you just decide that your political opponents can't have the internet anymore and can't have cell phones.
Sounds fun, right?
Yes.
I kind of feel like you're going to win that election. Let's imagine that you decide to start using this against vocal critics. Well, people might be nervous about speaking out against the government if it means that they can be kicked off the internet entirely and essentially made unemployable because, you know, for a lot of people, it's really difficult to, let's face it, it'd be just difficult to function. You know, banking is done online. Courthouse filing is done online in a major way. So all of these things are, you know, a lot of it is just now all done online, which makes it extremely difficult for any of this. Anyway, yeah, that's kind of the long and short of it. It does have provisions that allow the minister to remove someone from the internet. And it says, minister, you are only to use these things for very specific, narrow purposes. But if they decide to abuse it, it's pretty much impossible to challenge, and that challenge will be ultimately very unsatisfying because there isn't going to be any $1 million payout at the end of the day. There's just going to be a stop it. Don't do that. Bad government. Does the government care?
No.
Not much. No. So anyway, tons of questions about this one, so I figured we should go to the actual legislation and see what it says, and you can decide for yourself. Is it the worst thing ever? Is it not such a big deal? I think it kind of falls in between there, but I don't particularly like it. This is a bill that's currently in process. There's still time for them to, you know, edit and amend it. And I think that a great way to edit or amend it would be to say that this cannot be used against sort of individual people, like an actual flesh and blood human, as opposed to like a corporation or a company. Yeah. Anyway, and maybe to put in provisions that prevent it from being kept secret from the person it's aimed at. So that
maybe force a warrant so they can actually contest that and say it was unlawful.
And they know what's going on, you know.
Yeah. So, he will ramble for 3 minutes because I've seen that video many times and I like him, but sometimes the ending don't land. I enjoyed talking about that with the both of you. It's The downfall of free speech in Canada. We are dying. We are a joke. Our justice system doesn't work. Yet they want to jail people for speaking their minds. I hear China was like that. I think they're serious. I also know Russia is most likely like that when they don't shoot their neighbor. So yeah, I think it sucks. Any thoughts, Miss Sparkle?
I just I hope it doesn't get to that, because it just sounds like you guys are gonna end up like China, and you guys are gonna be so controlled. Nobody's even gonna know what's going on. It's kind of scary. So
Yeah, and the worse than that, I got a cousin. She's a teacher. She is your classic freaking liberal, brainwashed, and she defends C9, and she doesn't realize how bad C9 is, and
why?
it breaks me because she is in my family. I don't know. I feel so disconnected from my family. For them to think it's fine with C9, I brought her so many receipts. I brought her so many proof. Look, this is a bad bill. This is dangerous. We enter Russia style. But yet she just put her head in the sand because it's easier to just turn a blind eye than accepting I voted wrong.
No. That's
You
not
can't go at them like that. The problem is, okay, hypothetically, you're arguing with. So, okay, take into account in the US, the reason why progressives and liberals ultimately failed. Arguably, they had enough power since about 2006. Pelosi won which was a super majority, which made George Bush's presidency the last 2 years a lame duck. Now, hypothetically, well, we all know in 2008 you had Obama elected, which kicked the Overton window over. Now, arguably, you could say at the world, it was already moving back the other way.
No.
You had like a decade plus of conservatism. Now, the thing about it is, you're dealing with a generation of people, Gen Z, Gen Alpha,
Millennials, and
they're
I
coming
think
up
some of
with,
the X as well.
they're coming up as,
my cousin I told you about is X, Gen X. She's the youngest Gen X.
What year's that? What's Gen X? Like, what is it? I'm a millennial, right?
I think it's like 64 to 79. And
well, there
millennials
is
80
no,
to
it
96.
can go up to about 94, because 94 is when millennials were supposed to start. But like the thing about it is, there is liberals in the generation Gen X millennial area bubble like we are, but you cannot just go cite hyperbolics. They're used to hyperbolics. Now, the problem is progressives ruined every advantage they had. It wasn't as much as, okay, they gained ground against the conservatives by basically saying, you don't like being called a racist, do you? So it starts there. Well, you don't want to be a racist. Don't say that.
I think
So
everyone has a little racism.
they started out by controlling language. You don't want to be called a bigot, do you? Maybe. Then when it eventually came time, they would do certain things. This happened down the years. Now, the problem is when this is imploded, you have an entire generation indoctrinated with a level of thinking. Literally, I know of a person that there are some that are savable, there's others that are not.
Because I know of one, he literally thinks people with small hats control the world.
What does that mean?
That's hilarious. Now
What's
I
that
will
mean?
address the two comments there.
What's that mean?
We will get back to it after. So I fear people in the West get too comfy. I agree with that. Not fight back against shit no more. I agree as well with that. They think the government is good and we need to side with them because they do the right thing. No, it's bullshit. But government not scare at people no more. That's true. We need our French Revolution. EMS tests more and more how far they can go. That's true because they know the people are gullible and stupid. To me, the COVID thingy was a global test of that. Yeah. And a redistribution of wealth at the same time. That's true because what died? Not the big corporation. No, the small business of people. Who did shit against it? Well, the workers, like the truckers in Canada. Thank you for these very interesting comments.
So the whole thing too is you're also seeing the collapse of globalism. Well, okay.
Not yet. Canada is on a turning point whether we will embrace that shit or if we will say, you know what?
No, you've been on the
old ways are
globalist.
better.
Okay. The idea of having globalism versus nationalism, I've said it even in my own streams and amongst Sorter and everybody else. It's been a thing in our community. Okay, so you have a period where we've had the idea you need a globalist system where that is interlocking nations, where U.S. is going to have a section
So I don't cost a core now.
that relies upon Canada or relies on Europe, relies on everything else to make it work. Now, part of the resurgence it may have started more in the modern era, right around the Obama era started in the U.S., which was 08, 10. But the idea is economies in certain parts of the world are still globalist leaning. Now, what you're seeing is a lot of globalist nations are breaking down due to the fact, like in the U.S., Trump's resurgence came from the silent majority wanting nationalism. Now, nationalism taken to its extreme is bad, but most nationalist governments want national pride, basically meaning you're not bad. The problem with a globalist agenda or a globalist society is you have to tell a Frenchman they're equivalent to a German. You have to tell an Italian they're equivalent to a Frenchman.
The only thing that's maybe later you should explain to me what these words mean. I don't know what these words mean.
So the idea,
I don't want to make it.
We are all the same, and it doesn't matter where you're coming from.
And then the idea is,
you can hate the Christian and embrace the freaking hijab.
So the idea too is where under a nationalist system or a sense of nationalism, you want nation excellence. You want Canada to thrive. You want the U.S. to thrive.
Except when you're Mark Carney, you just want your ass to
No, I can put him on that. I can put him on my death note. Look, I have a death note.
Oh yeah. That'd be amazing.
No, but that's the big deal. You're seeing that right now.
Mark down lots of names.
No, but
I will like ink.
So the actual idea now.
I will research a lot to make sure I get it right, you know?
No, but the big thing right now has been the nationalist versus the globalist economy. What collapses first? Now, in the U.S., we're largely seeing a bounce back.
Because you guys were smart enough to elect something else than socialist.
Yeah, but then at the same time, he's like doing stuff that's pissing me off, though. So.
Well,
I feel you,
no, to
Vivek.
be
I
honest, no,
feel you.
okay.
We are on the
Look,
same page.
look, the
yeah.
idea. Let's see. Lilith's in Europe, so she probably sees it. That they've been globalist for a while. You have to deal with the EU as well as you have to deal with your own.
Three. Okay, that's enough. Okay, okay, that's enough. So, what do you have going on your end of the internet, D-Lord?
I'm going to today finish up the thing I started the other day, which is on the hearing on government censorship, which was supposed to be the House hearing later in the day for Dan Clancy and the head of Reddit and the head of Discord and Gabe Newell. But that got moved because of the government shutdown. Unfortunately, our government has been in a clusterfuck. We have a nice hearing on government censorship, which, if you can bear with it, is actually, there was a Senate hearing the other day. The idea, and we're also talking Section 230 reform. Now, will they get it? Probably not. But we will see. Other than that, also just game streams.
Amazing.
He's out slutting around. He's a whore.
What do you have going on your end of the internet, Miss Sparkle?
I'm actually okay. Don't you say anything, Dragonman. You lecture me, I'm gonna get mad. He's gonna lecture me later. I'm thinking. I'm going to be on Blackstreet though, but I'm going to make a video on Ethan Ralph, and then I'm thinking of doing live streaming about the old days, old internet with like Mr. Medicare and I don't like my face, Mr. Medicare and Ethan Ralph, the kill stream and all that. That's what I'm gonna start doing soon.
MSN Days with the Wiz.
The what?
MSN Days.
But yeah. So at the old days, when, like, I noticed a lot of stuff gets changed, like around where, like, Facebook gets changed, like I'm a whore. But no, so I kind of want to talk about like stuff that people don't realize happened back on the internet, like Gamergate. So.
Really? Really?
So
Yes.
Monday, very late. 2 streams are planned. Because Wednesday, I will go to Ottawa because I want to protest. No, I'm joking. I want to meet some politicians, and I want to see live Mark Carney getting roasted by Pierre Poilievre. That's always very fun. So yeah, Wednesday I'm in Parliament, and maybe I will stream before and after because I know inside I don't think I will be authorized to because they have their own crew and it's really like only authorized people that can shoot inside. So I will most likely shoot something outside and before and after if I find the time. Outside of that, well, Monday. Peacemaker season 2 and another stream at some point Monday as well. That other stream will be about the new Tron. Ares, and we will also address the other 2 Tron because I've seen the other 2 Tron and I cannot wait to see Ares. I will see it tomorrow after what I have in the afternoon. So if you have the chance, the Dragon, watch Ares. We will cover that Monday. Tuesday we talk about My Cousin Vinny and another movie from the 90s. I can't remember the title of the other movie. And next Saturday, we will have a very similar stream to what we did tonight, but we will spend more time covering C8. And if anything major happens in Parliament this week, we will cover that as well. With that being said, a lot of things. We are all very occupied, and we are out. Thank you for watching.